those years as a superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1126, Outstanding Youth Sean. Captain Rogers asked Lee Ji to go to the Inhumans for a reason. Because the king of the Inhumans is a guy who relies on his mouth cannon to fight. And those who can deal with the mouth cannons must also be masters of mouth cannons. Although the positioning of the mouth cannons of the two is different. In the Inhuman capital Attilan, young Dr. Sean started another beautiful day. He is an Inhuman who has not yet undergone the transformation of Terrigen Mist. Now he still looks like an extremely handsome young man. He has beautiful blonde hair as colorful as the sun, a gentle smile, and is humble and polite to others. Young Sean is a good man and is also well known in Attilan, the capital of the Inhumans. Because his favorite thing is to help the elderly see a doctor for free. He also teaches some medical classes to children when he has nothing to do. If Attilan is to select the top 10 outstanding young people, Sean will probably be elected. Today Sean went out to work as usual. Oh, there was a child throwing banana peels on the road, and Sean hurried over to pick it up and throw it into the trash can. By the way, he also educated the child who just threw the banana peel, telling him that it was wrong to do so. There was an old lady who wanted to cross the road in front of him, and Sean hurriedly went forward to help the old lady across. A young man was injured while playing football on the court, and a large piece of flesh was rubbed on the ground. The blood was spurting out, which was quite scary. Sean quickly took out his own medical kit to disinfect and bandage the young man's wound. Lee Ji, who was watching all this from a distance, couldn't help but ask, "I say, isn't he late for work like this?" Black Bolt answered with an electronic synthesized voice, "No, not really. Sean is the most outstanding and dedicated young doctor in our central hospital. He has never been late, left early or absent from work in all these years. And he always volunteers to stay and work overtime until late at night. If someone in the hospital has an emergency at home, he is always willing to volunteer to change shifts. And Sean is as warm as spring to patients. He takes care of countless patients with meticulous care until they are discharged healthy." Although it was just an electronic synthesized voice, Lee Ji inexplicably had a feeling that the tone of Black Bolt's electronic synthesized voice was copied from the voice of Zhu Jun, a famous Chinese host. Because Lee Ji felt that Black Bolt's next sentence would say at any time, "Now please invite Dr. Sean, one of the top 10 people who moved Attilan, to come on stage to receive the award," and then the music started, "Touching you and me, touching Attilan." Lee Ji shook his head vigorously to drive out this thought from his head. This is Attilan, not CCTV's award ceremony. Captain Rogers, who was next to Lee Ji, said to Black Bolt, "But even so, it doesn't mean that Sean is not an alien." Black Bolt glanced at Captain Rogers, then turned his head and continued in an electronic synthesized voice, "Even if he is, so what? Sean's mother did disappear for a while, and she became pregnant with Sean after she came back. Sean grew up in Attilan. He is a citizen of Attilan. The sense of identity with Attilan is the most important, and alien ancestry is secondary. Black Bolt has his own ideas. Now you have also seen Sean. I can guarantee that he will not be an unstable factor. On the contrary, he will be the rising star of the Inhumans. Look, what does it matter if a good person like him is an alien? Even if an alien has alien ancestry. Are you still worried that Sean will be a rapist? Do you need to take such a good person away for interrogation?" Black Bolt's statement was not wrong. This made Captain Rogers not know how to continue for a while. Black Bolt's theory makes sense, but for Captain Rogers, it is necessary to establish a global alien review and management agency. This is just like every country must have a customs agency to check people and goods entering and leaving the country to ensure that the country will not be harmed by some unknown hazards. Many countries have suffered from the harm of illegal immigration. If the Earth has more and more contact with the Star Alliance in the future, and more interstellar refugees or interstellar political prisoners run to Earth to hide, and the Earth government is unaware of it, then there will be more and more troubles in the future. The most feared thing is to leave a loophole at the beginning, because it will be difficult to fill this loophole in the future. Captain Rogers still wants to take Sean away first. This is a rule that must be formed. But as the leader of the Inhumans, Black Bolt has his own ideas. He manages the Inhumans. If he lets Captain Rogers take Sean away at will, How can he manage the Inhumans in the future? Although this is not very accurate, many people below will definitely think that Black Bolt is a weak person. And a weak person can't be our king. Both of them have their own plans, and for a while, both of them were silent. At this time, Captain Rogers kicked Li Ji. The reason why he brought Li Ji here was because he was afraid of encountering this situation. In this situation, both sides were deadlocked, and now Li Ji was needed to break the deadlock. Li Ji shook his head helplessly. He was originally watching the sunset in his backyard, but before he could enjoy this leisurely moment, he was pulled over by Captain Rogers. Cyan hasn't undergone the Terrigen Mist transformation yet. Li Ji had to speak up. Now Cyan still looks like a normal young human on Earth, which is relatively rare in the Inhumans. Inhumans who have undergone the Terrigen Mist transformation will be more or less different. No. In fact, Cyan's genes are a little unstable. If he is transformed by the Terrigen Mist, he may have problems. We didn't notice it before, and now that you have said it, I guess it may be a problem with the alien blood in his body. Black Bolt scratched his chin. Li Ji nodded. All adult Inhumans must be transformed, right? Yes. Hasn't Sean been injected with a gene stabilization agent we developed to neutralize the agitation of the Inhuman genes? Hearing this, Black Bolt shook his head. As I said before, Sean's genes are unstable. We are afraid of huge mistakes in injecting the agent or transforming the Terrigen Mist. Such problems have occurred in our history. Some Inhumans went into rampage after the Inhuman gene riot, just like mutants who awakened for the first time and could not control their own superpowers. Li Ji looked at Captain Rogers and then at Black Bolt. He proposed a compromise. How about we take Sean away for genetic stabilization and Terrigen Mist conversion? Of course, Black Bolt, you can come too. We'll just do a simple registration, and then we can treat and transform Sean in a more open place. What do you think? Chapter 1127 Cyan Awakens. Li Ji's proposal was agreed by Captain Rogers and Black Bolt. Zhang Tong's suggestion was good. It could help Captain Rogers take Cyan out for registration and management. It could also save Black Bolt's face, so that he would not be more resistant to this matter because of face issues. Moreover, it was necessary to inject Cyan with a gene-stabilizing agent. Cyan's genes had always been in an unstable state, which prevented him from awakening through the Terrigen Mist. If he could not awaken, Cyan would never be a complete Inhuman. Whatever abilities Cyan had could not be developed. Because of the emergence of the X-stabilizing agent, Li Ji and the leaders of the Illuminati had developed a potion that could neutralize the defects of the Inhuman genes. This was still thanks to the Parker particle, discovered by Peter Parker. Now the patent fees that Shuguang Technology has to pay to Peter Parker every year are astronomical. However, because of Peter's generosity, this astronomical patent fee was directly donated to Li Ji's superhero charity fund to help people in need around the world. For example, reconstruction after war, bringing education to children in remote areas, etc. Peter was very happy about all this, but he shed tears silently occasionally. After all, this is an income calculated in billions of dollars every year. This neutralizing potion is still very important to the Inhumans. For example, the good brother of Black Bolt, the huge Shar-Pei dog that has been following him, is actually a person. His name is Tetanus, and he has the ability to travel through time and space. But the defect is that he will become a huge dog. As a dog, Tetanus is very sad, because he is a veritable single dog. The X-neutralizing potion brought him new hope. After drinking the X-neutralizing potion, he can return to being a human. However, after becoming a human, his ability will disappear temporarily. When he activates his ability, he will become a huge dog again. If he becomes a human again, he needs to take the medicine again. It should be said that there is no best of both worlds in this world, but this is already very good. This is a compromise. At least Tetanus has now found the other half of his life. He has finally escaped from the tragic fate of a single dog. He can finally have his own offspring. What Black Bolt feared most, that his good brother would really become a dog in the future, did not happen. In the orbit of Neptune, a starport has been prepared. Like other starports, this starport was built by the legendary blacksmith Magneto. Recently, Magneto is hiding somewhere on Earth because of the troubles with his children and Dr. Hank. Maybe he is playing with Lego blocks to relieve stress? Anyway, Magneto has not appeared for a while, but Dr. Hank is still there. He is also the main person in charge of performing a small genetic surgery on Cyan. Dr. Hank's achievements in genetics and biology are probably the highest on Earth. His genes are indeed unstable. Dr. Hank pushed his black-framed glasses. He took Cyan's genetic test chart and made a basic judgment: the genes are unstable, and there seems to be a violent force hidden in the gene chain. Yes, it is because of this power that we dare not do the awakening experiment on him. Black Bolt nodded and stood beside Hank to look at the inspection chart together. This power is very violent. It may be due to his mutant ability or his alien bloodline. If he is awakened through the Terrigen Mist now, something bad may happen. Dr. Hank nodded. Yes, just like the violent runaway after the mutant awakens. Lee Ji and Captain Rogers looked at each other, and then Captain Rogers asked, "Then can he be injected with a neutralizer?" Captain Rogers was still waiting to take Cyan to the SWORD for registration after awakening. This was the agreement he had just reached with Black Bolt in private. It was an acceptable condition. "If you cure my people, I will let you take him to register or something. It's really a bit difficult." Dr. Hank pushed his black-framed glasses again and said, "But." Aha. As long as there is a but in the Bureau, it proves that the meaning of the whole sentence may be reversed. This is basic common sense that all Chinese teachers will teach. And Dr. Hank did say, "But it's not that there is no chance of cure. If we intervene and cut off the gene and inject the neutralizing agent, we can minimize the possibility of his outbreak when he awakens." How much? Black Bolt was very interested. The possibility of outbreak is only 3%. Dr. Hank was very confident. "If it's still not safe, we can all withdraw from the space station. There is no life near Neptune. Don't worry about him causing any damage." Black Bolt nodded, and he turned and went out to find Cyan, who was standing in the corridor waiting to be eaten by a group of big guys. "Cyan, I have a message for you. You can start your transformation ceremony." Looking at Cyan, Black Bolt passed the message to him. Cyan seemed very excited, because everyone in the Inhumans can do the transformation ceremony of Terrigen Mist. For the Inhumans, the transformation of Terrigen Mist is a very important and ritualistic thing. If you don't experience this, it's like you haven't integrated into this group. And Cyan is a person who has a strong sense of belonging to the Inhumans. He has always wanted to undergo the awakening transformation of Terrigen Mist, but every time his request was rejected. The reason is that his genes are unstable, and they don't want him to go berserk and have huge defects. Now the appearance of the X-neutralizer finally allows Cyan to see the possibility that he can truly become an Inhuman. So Cyan really wants to undergo the transformation ceremony immediately. Black Bolt and Dr. Hank also made various preparations and examinations for Cyan, and injected Cyan with the neutralizer according to what Dr. Hank said to calm his genes. Judging from the data obtained, the effect is still good. However, to be on the safe side, Black Bolt still asked everyone to board the spacecraft and observe Cyan's awakening outside the space station. Black Bolt brought a small can of Terrigen Mist. In the incubator, Cyan closed his eyes, and the Terrigen Mist was remotely activated and infused into the incubator by Black Bolt. Because of the Terrigen Mist, Cyan's body quickly formed layers of thick cocoons. It's like the process of a caterpillar spinning silk and cocooning and finally emerging as a butterfly. This process is a bit long. When Cyan's Terrigen cocoon was all over his body and began to beat regularly for several hours, it suddenly stopped beating. "It's coming." Black Bolt was a little excited. One of his tribesmen successfully completed the transformation. When the awakened Cyan just broke out of the cocoon, he had been quietly watching the monitor, watching Cyan's entire transformation process, but suddenly lost his voice and could not control his volume and said, "Thanos." Chapter 1128, Son of Thanos. Thanos. The first thing Lee Ji said after seeing Sean break out of his shell was Thanos. Although so many years have passed since the Marvel Universe movies he watched in his previous life, Lee Ji has long forgotten many of the details, but there are some things that he will always remember and unforgettable. That is Thanos, the biggest villain in the Marvel Universe. Because Thanos looks so easy to recognize. Thanos is first of all a powerful giant, about the same size as the Hulk. His skin color is purple, he has a big bald head, and the most important thing is his iconic chin. His chin has many fleshy ridges and wrinkles. It looks like the back of the foot of Adidas's coconut shoes. It is said that Adidas kills a member of Thanos's tribe for every pair of coconut shoes it produces. So there is no killing without buying and selling. Because of these remarkable features, Lee Ji has a deep understanding of Thanos' image. And now Sean, who has broken out of his shell and awakened his superpowers, looks almost exactly the same as Thanos in Li Ji's memory. So the moment he saw Sean, Li Ji couldn't help but shout out Thanos' name. After he called out the name, everyone's eyes were on him. "What were you talking about just now?" Captain Rogers looked at Li Ji and asked. Captain Rogers also knew the name Thanos, because when the Guardians of the Galaxy came last time, Star-Lord talked to the big guys of the Illuminati about the current situation of the star fields near the Milky Way. There are also some relatively large forces in the universe, like the Nova Corps, the Skrulls, the Zaya Empire, and the Dark Order of the Destroyer Bassinus has been roughly talked about. So when he heard the name Thanos, Captain Rogers couldn't help but look at Li Ji. Because of his appearance, Captain Rogers, look at his appearance carefully. Do you remember the photo Star-Lord showed us last time? Li Ji pointed at Cyan's current appearance and said, "It's this look, have you forgotten? Thanos looks like this." With Li Ji's reminder, Captain Rogers recalled that Star-Lord, the boss of the Guardians of the Galaxy, had popularized the photos of the leaders of the major forces in the universe to everyone. Thanos' appearance suddenly appeared in his mind. When the two were compared, it was true that Sean did look like Thanos. Rogers, Li Ji and Dr. Hank now strongly suspected that Sean might be Thanos' son. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence in the world that the two looked so similar? And Thanos was not a good bird. In the wanted list of the Nova Corps, Thanos has long been ranked first. He is the biggest murderer in the universe, the head of arms, and the one who has committed the most genocide. The three bigwigs of the Illuminati looked at each other and saw some bad looks in each other's eyes. Black Bolt, who was still unclear about who Thanos was, asked Li Ji and the other two in confusion, "What are you talking about later? From your tone, it seems that you know who Sean's father is." Sean has not yet fully awakened. His eyes are half closed and half open, and he doesn't know that the discussion about his fate is taking place on the spaceship not far away. Yes, we may know who his father is, a terrible alien. Li Ji is now serious. He must tell Black Bolt what kind of situation Cyan, the Inhumans and the Earth will face now. He is a massacre and a warmonger. In fact, the Chitauri who attacked the Earth were his subordinates, and this is only a very small part of his power. Thanos controls almost the entire Centauri star field and the surrounding forces. The space pirates under his command are a headache for everyone. Not many people are willing to face Thanos head-on. And now that Sean is his child and on Earth, I think we will be in trouble. Black Bolt was a little puzzled. What kind of trouble? Will he come to find his son? Li Ji remembered some of the things Gamora said she had done, and he couldn't help but nodded and said, "I think so." What will that guy named Thanos do for his son? Find him and take him back. Speaking of which, Sean has not been abused here over the years. In fact, isn't it better that Sean is Thanos' son? We don't want to get into so much trouble, whether it's the Inhumans or the Earth. We have educated Sean for so many years, and he's already a thorough Inhuman. If he can return to Thanos, maybe it can ease the relationship between Thanos and our Earth. Even establish a new era of communication, right? Black Bolt's idea is not bad to some extent, because in most people's minds, it is a very basic concept that even a tiger will not eat its own cubs. If you think from this perspective, the Inhumans have helped Thanos raise his son for so many years, and Thanos might even thank the Inhumans and give them a certificate of honor or something. But Thanos' attitude towards his own son is complicated, and Black Bolt doesn't know the strangeness. If everything can be done as you say, it will be fine. But the situation we are facing is worse. Li Ji had to say the worst situation. In fact, Thanos doesn't love his children very much. He loves his adopted sons and daughters more than his own children. He will carefully teach his adopted sons and daughters to grow up, educate them with various knowledge, and make them very powerful. Li Ji thought of Gamora. But he will let these powerful adopted sons and daughters find their own children and kill them. Why? This goes against common sense. Black Bolt couldn't understand. In fact, normal people can't understand Thanos' thinking. It is said that it is because of love. Gamora was once Thanos' adopted daughter, but later broke up with Thanos and is now a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. She revealed some information, but not completely. It seems that Thanos fell in love with a woman, but Gamora has never met this woman. This woman asked him to kill all the women he had affairs with, including those women he had affairs with, and the children born to those women. He wants to slaughter the universe for love. In Li Ji's description, Thanos seems to be a psychopath. An extremely powerful psychopath. So when he knows that his child has been raised by the Inhumans for so many years, I think he will not be grateful to us or you. Instead, he will destroy us all. This is probably the worst situation that Li Ji and his team have to face. Black Bolt felt a little painful just thinking about this situation. And just when several people were discussing how to face the threat of Thanos that might come, Sean's eyes opened. The X-complex potion mixed by Dr. Hank did not have the effect he hoped for. A violent force burst out from Sean's blood as he woke up. That kind of violent power makes people feel palpitations. The power that erupted at the moment when Cyan opened his eyes had instantly destroyed this huge starport in the orbit of Neptune. The starport that the legendary blacksmith spent a long time to build was nothing compared to Cyan's power. This powerful force spread far and wide, and not only Li Ji and others could feel it. This powerful force could also be felt in farther places. The black dwarf flying towards the earth inexplicably felt a kind of fear in her heart, just like she was afraid of Thanos. She suddenly felt a little afraid of the earth she was about to fly to. And the Ancient One, who had been meditating and practicing in Kamartaki, also opened his eyes. The space gate broke through and he instantly came to the vicinity of Neptune. Layers of magic arrays enveloped him. Because he felt a powerful force that he had felt hundreds of years ago, the purple-skinned cute girl who was taught a lesson by Odin, but now the power he could feel was several times stronger than that of the purple-skinned cute girl back then. Chapter 1129. The son is stronger than the father. The appearance of the Ancient One startled Li Ji and others. Because when he just appeared, he had already locked the magic circle on the space station destroyed by Sean. Thanos. Guyi's roar shook people's hearts. This sound was not transmitted by acoustics. Instead, it came from the heart. Li Xian and others couldn't help but shudder. To be honest, it was the first time that Li Ji saw the Ancient One appear in this form, fully armed and ready to face a great enemy. The Ancient One rarely paid attention to other things besides the invasion of the demon gods from other dimensions. Just like the last time the Terrians came to attack the Earth, he didn't care at all, because he believed that Li Ji's people could handle these things well. The only time Li Ji saw the Ancient One take action was a long time ago. The demon possessed by Norman Osborn escaped. As a result, a giant hand of the Ancient One crossed time and space and directly crushed him to death. After that, Li Ji never saw the Ancient One take action again. Because any problems that arose afterwards were not worth his effort in the eyes of the Ancient One. Now that the Ancient One has appeared, he probably believes that this matter is not something that Li Ji and his Illuminati can handle. He must come forward to handle it himself. Sean, who had just woken up and didn't know what was going on, burst out with a wave of power. As soon as he opened his eyes, he completely destroyed the entire space station. He was also confused, but what was even more confused was that he had just destroyed the space station, but he was trapped by countless magic circles and magic chains, making it impossible for him to escape. After the Ancient One trapped Sean, he was ready to get rid of him. People like the Ancient One are decisive and murderous. He found that this guy might be Thanos, and his strength was so strong that he was several times stronger than hundreds of years ago. Now that he was trapped by a sudden attack, he should be eliminated in one fell swoop without wasting too much time. Because the night is long and dreams are many, and the villains die because of talking too much, the Ancient One has seen this many times. Many demon lords and powerful demons have fallen in this way. The energy of the Ancient One was activated, and a huge sword of the mage broke through the void and shot straight at him. This devastating momentum was the means that the Ancient One would use when he was killing the demons. Li Ji and others were a little confused. They had not figured out what happened from this sudden attack. Because the one who did it was the Ancient One, a big boss they were very familiar with. So Li Ji and others were a little hesitant. And Black Bolt had never seen the Ancient One. He only knew that a very powerful guy suddenly appeared in the void and trapped his own tribe member, Sean. So Black Bolt subconsciously burst out his own power. He roared, "Stop!" Black Bolt's roar was not made with electronic synthesized sound. Instead, it was made with his real throat. As the strongest mouth cannon king on Earth, Black Bolt knew whether it was true or not as soon as he opened his mouth. Black Bolt, who had been practicing silent meditation for many years, opened his mouth at this moment, and the power accumulated over the years completely broke out at this moment. The huge energy finally had a gap and vented out. The overwhelming energy roared like a tsunami. The spaceship where Li Ji and others were was instantly torn in half. Fortunately, before boarding the spaceship, everyone had put on the spacesuits designed by Tony to prevent accidents. Otherwise, these people would be swept into space and died instantly like the aliens in the movie. The energy of Black Bolt roared out. The Ancient One frowned slightly. Now all his strength is used to destroy Basanasa. This sudden attack forced him to disperse some of his strength to create a magic shield. The most powerful mouth cannon on the earth, the power of his mouth cannon finally matched the magic shield created by the Ancient One. The huge energy collision set off a huge wave, and the vacuum of the universe could not transmit sound. But everyone could feel the energy turbulence running wildly. Li Ji had to draw his knife and weave a thunder shield. This protected Dr. Hank and Captain Rogers. Otherwise, the two would be killed by these energy turbulences in this turbulence. The thunder shield woven by Li Ji was extremely dazzling in the universe, because this thunder power with thunder of destruction was possessed by only Li Ji in the universe plane known by the Ancient One, except for Odin. And because of the full strength attack of Black Bolt, the Ancient One's annihilation of Cyan this time was not fully accomplished. Cyan burst out potential energy at the critical moment and broke free from the Ancient One's restraints. The huge sword of judgment did not hide him, and he was considered to have escaped a disaster, but he was also scared and sweated. In fact, the Black Belly King was a little scared now, because he didn't know what kind of terrible existence he had provoked. His full strength attack only barely offset the opponent's magic shield, but failed to go further. You know, the opponent was using a big move at the time, and only a part of the power was used to face himself. And the power of this part of the magic shield was enough to compare with his full strength attack. When Black Bolt saw the Ancient One looking at him, he felt cold sweat coming down. But at this tense moment, Li Ji was gesticulating in the universe. Signaled the Ancient One to stop. We are all in the same group. Sean was also very curious. Now he turned into Little Purple Man. He didn't know what happened. Finally, under Li Ji's mediation, the Ancient One, Black Bolt, Sean and others were finally able to find a place to sit down and talk. The new port of Neptune was destroyed, and everyone could only move to Pluto. Fortunately, for the Ancient One who could travel through time and space, it didn't take a second to take everyone from Neptune to Pluto. So this person is Thanos' son. The Ancient One has figured out the whole story. Li Ji has explained everything very clearly, including Sean's awakening and so on. Although Sean has powerful power, he is still the soft-hearted and kind-hearted inhuman boy in his heart. He has not been polluted. Sean's expression is a bit complicated, so, my father is a big devil. This has nothing to do with you. Sean, your father is your father, and you are you. Black Bolt patted Sean on the shoulder, trying to pass on some strength to him. Li Ji was a little curious. Why are you here, Master Ancient One? Because I felt a powerful force. It is more powerful than when Thanos came to the solar system. Master Ancient One looked at Cyan. He was very serious. This power comes from him. It is more powerful than Thanos back then. And according to you, he just awakened today and has not yet been able to fully master this terrible power. Maybe it's the hybrid that makes it more powerful. According to Gamora, almost none of Thanos' children could really grow up and were killed by Thanos men. And Cyan is probably the only child of Thanos who really grew up. I'm afraid Thanos will definitely find him. Li Ji glanced at Cyan, and then asked Master Ancient One. Master Ancient One, you just said that Cyan's power is stronger than Thanos. I'm afraid that's the case. Master Ancient One nodded. Then can he defeat Thanos? Li Ji asked. Perhaps after training, he can tie with Thanos. The gap in experience between him and Thanos in the use of power cannot be made up simply by using powerful strength. Thane doesn't know how to use his own power yet. The Ancient One's eyes were sharp. If this power is not used well, it is easy for people to get lost and fall into the power and cannot extricate themselves. Thane may become more terrible than Thanos. Hearing what the Ancient One said, Thane immediately stood up and defended himself. It's impossible. I won't become a person like him. If Thanos really wants to destroy the Earth and the solar system, he will step over my body first. As soon as Thane finished speaking, everyone's eyes turned to him. Li Ji clapped his hands. Well, Black Bolt, congratulations. Your Inhumans will have a super powerful warrior, and you need to train him well and don't let him get lost in the power. If Thanos really wants to come to Earth in the future, we may still need this Cyan to take action to deal with Thanos. And by the way, Resolve the grudge between him and Thanos. P.S. Cyan is indeed stronger than Thanos after awakening. Chapter 1130 Collecting Gems. For Li Ji and others, the appearance of Sean can be regarded as a good thing. Because of his extraordinary ability, if he is carefully cultivated, his ability will be stronger than Thanos. This is the conclusion drawn by Master Gu Yi, who once fought with Thanos. Sean is not good enough now, because there are still hundreds of years of fighting experience between him and Thanos that cannot be made up. The so-called One Force defeats 10 tricks, but it requires a strong enough strength to completely crush the opponent. But Thanos is at the level of the Overlord of the universe after all. The only defeat before was at the hands of Odin. And Master Guya privately revealed some details to Li Ji. Odin was fully powered by Odin's power at that time. Master Guya recalled the battle at that time and frowned slightly. Thanos is not an easy guy to deal with. He is very powerful and is good at using all kinds of equipment. He is good at making all kinds of weapons and equipment. His armor can withstand Odin's full strength attack without breaking. You know, there are not many armors that can do this. Most artifacts can hardly block Odin's attack when he holds the lightning spear Gungnir and Odin's power is fully activated. It can be said that Thanos himself is at the top level in forging equipment and making various auxiliary props. Even the most outstanding masters of the dwarves may not be able to do better than him. From a certain point of view, Odin's personal armor design on the technological side has reached the pinnacle of the known civilization. And his helmet can resist mental and spiritual attacks. It is more powerful than Magneto's helmet because his helmet will not melt even if it is thrown into a star. A full set of armor can help him isolate all cosmic rays, energy radiation, low temperature and high temperature. His gloves have powerful attack capabilities. In his battle with Odin hundreds of years ago, I have witnessed a powerful power emanating from his gloves. Without using his own strength, the powerful rays emitted by his gloves alone can penetrate a relatively small planet. And adding his own energy, he can easily tear a relatively small planet apart. Of course, he usually doesn't do this, because he can easily create a super bomb that can destroy a planet. In the time it takes Thanos to penetrate a planet with his strength, he can have his factory produce super bombs that can destroy 1,000 planets. Ancient One pointed to his head. Thanos has never relied solely on muscles to fight. His brain is the most powerful weapon. The armor he built for himself has made it difficult for countless people to deal with it. What's more, he has powerful strength. When the two are added together, he is even more difficult to deal with. Although Sean has shown great strength, but we can't get him armor as powerful as Thanos. There is no way to make him as smart as Thanos in an instant. Now that Thanos has awakened, Thanos will definitely come looking for him. For Thanos may be the biggest threat in his life. Maybe due to the cycle of cause and effect, he will be defeated by Thanos. Thanos will not allow Thanos to spend decades to grow up. We don't have much time left. Compared with the son of the star in the sun, Thanos is the top trouble. Guyi said this very seriously, and Li Ji nodded. However, Li Ji asked curiously, but since Odin was able to defeat Thanos once, can he defeat Thanos a second time? And you, the mage? Guyi nodded and shook his head. Odin is in hibernation. This hibernation is very special, not a simple Odin's sleep. He may have sensed something, so he is accumulating strength. He has to recover to the best combat condition to face possible problems. If Thanos had appeared in the last 2 years, Odin might not have awakened. I can fight Thanos. Guyu was quite confident about this, but there was an objective condition that restricted him. But there is a problem. That is, if Thanos and I fight for too long, those demons from other dimensions will be ready to make a move. They have wanted to kill me for a long time. So I hope you can grow up. Roma is training Brian to use this sort of promised victory. Sean also needs training to become stronger. You also need to strengthen your strength. You can't always rely on, mouth cannon? Is that the word? You can't always rely on mouth cannon to fight. Unless you're Black Bolt. His mouth cannon can cause some trouble to Thanos. You should appropriately strengthen your combat effectiveness. Master Ancient One looked at Li Ji with a bit of disappointment. I know you have done a lot, but it would be better if you could become a little stronger. Li Ji scratched his head very embarrassedly and said to Master Ancient One, Master, you know, my abilities are not my own. They are all given to me by the system, or the fire of the universe. I do want to become stronger. But isn't the system temporarily restarting now? I am not suitable for practicing magic. You have said that I am a pure natural muggle. How do you think I can become stronger? Master Ancient One said helplessly. Tony Stark can constantly update his armor. I still remember the first time I met him, he was wearing an armor called MK3, which was ugly and useless. Now he has changed to a black and gold nano armor, which is many times stronger than before. Can't you learn from him? Master Ancient One pointed at Li Ji. Li Ji spread his hands, but I don't know how to make armor. How about asking Tony to design a set for me? The Ancient One shook his head. I don't mean for you to be the second Iron Man. I mean, if your own strength can't be improved, then rely on external objects. Don't think that it's bad to improve your strength with external objects. Those guys who rely on themselves and think that using external objects to improve their strength are evil and heretic. The trees on the graves of this world have grown big enough to be used to build houses. Li Ji understood what the Ancient One said. Yes, if he could find some artifacts to use, his strength could be greatly improved. Then Master, do you know where there are artifacts for rent? Li Ji asked. I'll use them to improve my strength. The Ancient One couldn't help but knock on Li Ji's head. Don't you have a magic weapon in your hand? What? The gem that makes people dance. Although it's strange, I feel its power. The power it contains is no less than that of the Infinity Stones. But it is not as dangerous as the Infinity Stones. The Ancient One said the secret that Li Ji thought he had protected very well. Didn't you use this to make many people dance? But you haven't mastered how to use it very well. And I suspect that it is made up of multiple pieces, just like the Infinity Gems. Why don't you go find the brothers of this dancing gem? Gather them together. Maybe I can get the Infinity Gauntlet out of Odin's treasury. Let you maximize the power of these special gems. Maybe when Thanos comes, he will bow down to your Infinity Gems. Li Ji was not excited at all after hearing this. He just asked a little anxiously, did you see us dancing? Guess. Master Ancient One smiled meaningfully. Chapter 1131. Let's go on an adventure with Li Ji. The Ancient One proposed that Li Ji collect other gems related to the dancing gem. According to the Ancient One, this gem is very similar to the Infinity Gem. Since the Ancient One already knew it, Li Ji did not hesitate to tell the story of how he got this gem, including the fact that he saw different Tony Stark and Peter Parker in another parallel universe. So the Ancient One boldly speculated that this might be a variant of the Infinity Gem in other parallel universes. The Infinity Gem is very powerful, and this variant of the gem is actually not weak. Although the ability seems a little ridiculous, it will surprise people when used unexpectedly. For example, the dancing gem, although it does not have the ability to attack directly and cannot defeat anyone directly, it can suddenly launch a mental attack on people. Make people dance uncontrollably to the rhythm in their minds. If you can make the other party dance and give them a sudden blow at this time, then the use it can bring is not small. In fact, the last time the Chitauri invaded, Li Ji thought about whether he should try to release a wave of energy rays from the dancing gemstone at the Chitauri. Then let them perform a cosmic dance, and then ambush them, which might have a better result. But the dancing gemstone has a flaw. It does not distinguish between enemies and friends. Once it is opened and used, it may be a phantom. At that time, it may not only be the Chitauri who are dancing, but the whole earth will dance together. That would be terrible. Because no one will cover the lid of the dancing gemstone at that time. So even if he wants to use this gemstone, Li Ji has to find a way to make a glove that can hold the gemstone and exert the power of the gemstone. At least he can't let himself be hit together. This is Li Ji's bottom line. But although he said so, Li Ji didn't know where to get the infinite gloves. Fortunately, Master Ancient One agreed to this matter. Go find the remaining gems. I will help you find a way to get the Infinity Gauntlet. If it doesn't work, I will borrow the Infinity Gauntlet made by Thanos from Odin's treasure house. Master Ancient One said confidently. With Master Ancient One's endorsement, Li Ji felt much more relieved. The dancing gems had been thrown into his space belt and had not been used much, because this thing was a double-edged sword, and using it would hurt others and yourself. But where to find the remaining gems was a problem. Facing this question raised by Li Ji, Master Ancient One put forward his opinion. You found your dancing gems in a universe similar to ours, or in other words, this is our parallel universe. Then I speculate that the remaining gems should also be in a parallel universe similar to ours. As long as you search in the corresponding universe, I think the possibility of finding them will be very high. Well, What Master Ancient One said is also a way. As long as you enter a universe, observe the technological situation near it, and understand the main dynamics of that world, it is still easy to tell whether it is a parallel universe of the Marvel Universe. For example, the Dawn plane created by Newton is easy to distinguish. For Li Ji, things on Earth can be put aside for now. Everything is on the right track, and he no longer needs to work hard on everything, or help others to pass the buck or something. Because Li Ji was surprised to find that under the influence of someone, the bigwigs of the Illuminati seemed to be passing the buck, black-hearted and thick-skinned, black-hearted and ruthless, and these aspects have become more and more outstanding, and are no longer inferior to someone. Now when occasionally talking with these bigwigs, you have to be careful to be unexpectedly blamed by them. Although you don't want to say this, you have to admit that there is a very reasonable old saying. That is to teach the apprentice to starve the master to death. Since there is nothing on Earth that particularly needs him now, everything is on the right track, and the bigwigs of the Illuminati can handle it, then Li Ji is ready to go to the other world to collect other gems scattered outside. Infinity gems are too dangerous, and too many people covet them. Li Ji feels that he can't protect this kind of gem. Unless it is as powerful as Thanos, or Master Ancient One, this kind of single-person strength is outstanding. Or there is a superpower so powerful that everyone has to think about whether they can defeat it. For example, the Nova Corps, such as Asgard. Only in this way can they be qualified to guard the Infinity Stones. Anyway, I can't punch Odin and kick Thanos like the protagonists in many Marvel fanfictions I have read in my previous life, collect 6 Infinity Stones, and gallop across the Marvel Universe. But at least I can collect the Dance Stones and so on. If Thanos really wants to come to Earth, I might be able to make Thanos sing Conquer while dancing disco. I believe that if Thanos really does this, even if it only lasts for 3 seconds, let alone whether he can defeat Thanos, just spreading this video is enough to make Thanos lose his majesty in the universe. I am afraid that his dark cult will lose their hearts. Li Ji is going to go home to pack up his luggage and go to another world to find these alternative versions of the Infinity Stones. But before he leaves, Master Ancient One made a small request. Take Strange and Brian with you. Ancient One said very seriously. But they may not be able to help much? Li Ji disliked these two a little bit. Strange was okay, at least he was at the level of a high-level apprentice of a wizard. But Brian was far behind. He still had a long way to go before he could become a super swordsman like King Arthur. It is precisely because they have no skills and need to be trained that you need to take them out to see the world. They lack opportunities to gain experience on Earth. It would be good for them to go out with you to take risks, kill monsters and level up. Listening to Master Ancient One talking like this, Li Ji suddenly felt that Master Ancient One probably played more games than just stealing vegetables in QQ Farm. I'm afraid he played Japanese-style MMORPGs that kill monsters and level up, or games like World of Warcraft. He was originally going to find the Infinity Stones, but he had to bring 2 burdens with him, which made Li Ji a little unhappy. But Li Ji changed his mind and thought that since Strange and Brian were going to be brought along, he might as well bring Lan along. At least this would add a little fun to his journey. Li Ji has already packed his luggage and taken all kinds of equipment to start a great adventure to another world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1132 The Extraordinary Twins are dispatched. Laura, I'm so bored. Hit Girl Mindy rolled around on a carpet in her and Laura's secret base, the house where the old Hit Girl and Big Daddy lived. Why are you so bored? Laura squatted in front of Mindy, holding her little face with both hands and asked. I want to eat Nanjing roast duck buns, but now I can't eat them. Do you know how painful it is for me? Mindy rolled around on the carpet twice, messing up her golden hair. We shouldn't have agreed to let Sam go if we had known. Mindy lay on the carpet in a big letter shape, her eyes staring at the sky. Don't you think our lives are less fun without him? Laura and Mindy are already 14-year-old girls. They have developed from the form of a lolly to the form of a girl. When a 14-year-old girl says she misses someone, it is always easy to cause misunderstanding. So you really miss Sam now, and feel like you can't live without him? Laura asked Mindy with a sly smile on her face and her eyes narrowed into a line. Mindy stood up immediately after hearing what Laura said. She quickly said, "Hey, what are you talking about? Who is missing him?" Mindy denied it. "I just missed the food he brought us. Don't you think that without him, our takeout options will be reduced? I miss Nanjing roast duck buns, Osaka takoyaki, Naples pizza, Mexican fried chicken avocado burritos, and Texas-style barbecue." Mindy felt a little hungry as she spoke. She couldn't help but bend down from her upright body, and finally collapsed to the ground. Cyrillic letter Z. "No, I'm getting hungrier and hungrier. No, I fell down. I need Laura to help me buy Nanjing roast duck buns to eat before I can stand up." Mindy started to play tricks. Laura heard what Mindy said, and simply lay down on the carpet. She patted her belly and said, "Don't talk anymore. I'm hungry too. I need Mindy to help me buy babo chicken, osmanthus cake, garlic fried chicken, and fried spare ribs to eat before I can stand up." The two girls lay on the velvet carpet. Neither of them got up, just looking at each other and talking. Laura, "Mindy, I want to eat hummus with toast." Mindy, "You're old. I want to eat orange cheesecake." Laura, "I want to eat lasagna with meat sauce." Mindy, "I want to eat Italian tomato beef meatballs." Laura, "I want German blood sausage with fried sauerkraut." Mindy, "Then I want charcoal grilled German pork knuckle." Laura, "If it doesn't work, the Frankfurter sausage will also work." Mindy, "Then you go buy it." Laura rolled on the ground and said firmly, "No, you go." Mindy rolled on the ground twice and said in a coquettish tone, "No, you go." Laura rolled 3 times to show her determination. Then Mindy rolled 4 times. As the two girls rolled around, they unknowingly cleaned the entire floor of the room. In the end, they found that no one could convince the other, and as both sides kept calling out dishes, the two became even hungrier. It was Mindy who stood up first. She tied up her long golden hair into a neat braid. "Laura, we can't hurt each other anymore." Laura rolled out of the bedroom, looked at Mindy who stood up and asked, "So you plan to go out for takeout?" "I'm very hungry now, and I don't ask for much now. Just bring me a garlic roasted chicken leg and passion fruit drink." Mindy pulled Laura up from the ground. "Girl, how can you be so lazy? You are only 14 years old." Facing Mindy's heartache, Laura curled her lips. "Oh, who started rolling around first?" Mindy waved her hand to change the subject. "That's not important." Laura spread her hands. "Then tell me what's important." "The important thing is that although Sam is gone, we still have other brothers. Why should we complain here?" Mindy clapped her hands and said the key point. "What are you talking about?" Kick asked David. "Did this guy ask for a salary at the beginning of the month?" Laura suddenly realized, "Yeah, by the way, what did you give him?" "The new Star Wars series, the whole set, valued at more than $499. Mindy said how much salary this month was given to her younger brother. Kick asked David. Oh. Laura came back to her senses. "Then let him deliver takeout for us. Let him buy some garlic fried chicken first." "You think too much, Laura." Mindy waved her hand. "He is not Sam, and he can't fly. Garlic fried chicken has to be bought in Asia. He can't do it. David can only run errands for us in New York City at most." Hearing what Mindy said, Laura couldn't help but sigh. Kick asked David is such a waste. He can't even sell garlic fried chicken. What future can he have? Mindy also nodded in agreement. Yeah, that's probably how his life will be. For the two girls, David was not even a qualified errand boy. Mindy even thought, why not just fly to Asia by themselves? Anyway, the course Big Daddy and Punisher had recently given them just happened to cover the topic of transportation. It was about the use and maintenance of common aircraft on the market and the fighter jets commonly used by the Earth Federation. Nightcrawler also helped to get a very fast trainer plane. If she and Laura flew to Asia, it wouldn't take long. Forget it. Have you forgotten about the last time you threatened the White House for candy? We can't use our abilities for things other than saving the world. Laura reminded Mindy. Mindy held her forehead helplessly. But what the hell is this about saving the world? They've almost saved the world. Forget it. Let Kick-Ass David go to East Chinatown to buy us burgers from that burger shop in Chinatown. Theirs is better than Burger King or something like that. Just when Mindy called David and asked her little brother to run errands, David stammered and said, well, it's not that I don't want to help. Listen, I know. I'm a little brother, and I get paid, Lego, but I'm a little busy now. Can you wait a minute? Mindy was unhappy, and she said in a big sister tone, what can you be busy with? A gang deal. I met them by chance. I want to follow them, and if necessary, notify the police to defeat a criminal group. David was in high spirits. Mindy, who was originally so bored that she could only wait for supper, suddenly became energetic. Where are you? I'll be there now. You didn't even know to notify your boss about such a good thing? New York criminal gangs, just wait. The Beyonder twins are about to go out again. Chapter 1133. Someone is selling fake goods. The situation in New York City has been very tense recently. Since the establishment of the Justice League, the good days of the bad guys are over. Kick-ass David said this to Mindy and Laura with some complacency. Because he was the first to propose the establishment of the Justice League. Although Colonel Star-Spangled Banner helped a lot. Because of the activeness of the Justice League, we have in-depth cooperation with the police. We are the police's spies all over New York. Now more and more people are joining the Justice League. Everyone is very willing to help the police fight criminals and maintain the security of their communities. Although we will not face anyone directly, we can collect evidence and tip off the police. After all, no one wants to live in a place with poor security or even very dangerous. Do you know that the crime rate in Brooklyn has dropped by more than 30% in the past year? Now there are fewer shootings and fewer armed robberies. Kick-ass David said this in a green tight uniform, as if he was responsible for everything. Mindy looked at him with some disgust. Come on, why are you so proud? Is this all your credit? If it weren't for the new mayor of New York, George Stacey, who introduced a new law and order bill, the crime rate in New York City would not have dropped so quickly. The Justice League is a factor. Another important thing is that George's policies are very good, giving the Justice League room to survive and develop. Let the relationship between the police and the people become closer. Come from the masses, go to the masses, and use the vast ocean of mass organizations to drown criminal organizations. Without the support of the masses, no organization, including gangs, can survive. Only by adhering to the mass line can we maintain the law and order in New York. And the set of effective methods can be promoted to the whole United States. Mindy spoke this long paragraph without taking a breath. David was a little dumbfounded when listening to these words. He looked at Mindy in disbelief. Did you think of all this? Did you analyze it? Mindy was proud, of course. Otherwise, why am I your boss? David bowed. You are really my boss. And Laura on the side covered her mouth and laughed secretly. This is not what Mindy thought of herself. It was clearly what Nightwalker said last month when he was drinking with Big Daddy and the others at the Nightwatch Alliance dinner party while discussing the security situation in New York. It was Mindy's memory that made her remember the whole thing. Now it was just right to deceive people. No matter whether Nightwalker's words were true or not, or whether they made sense or not, they sounded very bluffing, very reasonable, and very real. And it was perfect for me and others to deceive David. However, Laura saw that Mindy was almost done pretending, so she asked, you said you recently discovered the activities of underground criminal organizations. What is it? Drug trafficking or arms? Speaking of the underground trafficking of various illegal things, the most profitable one is drugs, followed by guns and ammunition. These things are very profitable, but they also destroy the city's security. Guns are not to be mentioned. The United States is a country that does not ban guns. If you want to play with guns, you can apply for a gun license, then go to a regular gun store to buy a gun, and then go to the shooting range to play. This is not a difficult thing in the United States. Buying guns illegally from the black market, you say you bought it for self-defense, for fun? No one will believe this if you say it out. Most of the guns bought on the black market are used for dirty work, because if you buy guns through formal channels for dirty work, the police can trace the source immediately. As for drugs, it goes without saying that this stuff can make people neither human nor ghost. Especially when many people have no money, they will take risks and go on the road of crime in order to take drugs. So among all crimes, drugs and guns are the most disgusting. The two little girls of the extraordinary twins have been very depressed recently and have long wanted to find something fun to do. For example, they can capture the lair of a criminal organization and then wreak havoc. It would be very cool to think about it. If they blow up other things at will, the adults in the night watch will definitely punish the two. But if they go to deal with the gangs themselves, although they will also say that they will, at least they will not put them in solitary confinement. So they are drug dealers? We need to destroy their organization as soon as possible. Mindy was very excited and wanted to do something big. Hearing what Mindy said, Sam touched his head hesitantly. Well, maybe I think differently from you. Why? This criminal organization doesn't seem to sell drugs and arms. David explained helplessly, because of the active activities of Punisher, Big Daddy, Spider-Man and others in New York, fewer and fewer gangs do these things. The risks they face are getting higher and higher. So they change to other profitable businesses. Otherwise, they will starve. I heard from the gangsters on the street that some guys can't get enough food and can only go to the relief station to get food coupons to survive. David talked about the hard life of the underground society of New York gangs now. Mindy and Laura imagined that a guy with tattoos on his arms, a shaved head, and a fierce look at a glance actually went to the relief station to line up to get relief food, and they felt it was terrible. Okay, then what does this criminal organization you're talking about sell? Mindy and Laura waved their hands to drive that picture out of their minds. Do you know what is the most valuable in the market now? David asked mysteriously. Mindy and Laura, huh? Shuguang Technologies products. David revealed the answer. Shuguang Technologies products are now the most valuable things on the market, including hair growth water, skincare water, and various X-beauty potions. Due to insufficient production capacity, these products have been in short supply. Although each sales point sells at the official price. However, the prices of these products in the private black market are often marked up, and some popular and scarce products are even sold at double the price. Because many people may not be able to buy the products they want from official channels. David described what the criminal organization he was targeting looked like. They resell these products on the black market just like scalpers. It's easier to make money than selling drugs, and it's not illegal, just a little bit of violation at most. Even if Spider-Man and the Punisher come across it, they won't do anything about it. You can't just control what people buy from scalpers at a markup. What David said made sense, so Mindy nodded. Yeah, so why should you control it? You said it's not illegal. Yes, it's not illegal. But what if someone sells this stuff? It has a bad influence on people. Do you think this is a crime? Should we control it? David's eyes lit up. Chapter 1134, Gangsters Having a Hard Time. Dommins was originally a small leader under a big gang in New York. Originally, his life was comfortable and he had endless joy. Because he was a small leader under a relatively large organization, the projects under his jurisdiction were also relatively lucrative. At the beginning, their organization sold plasma to vampires. Those vampires who have now been completely eradicated and thrown into the dust of history. At that time, in order to ensure that their own tribe would not starve to death, the vampire empire had to purchase medical plasma from the US government as food. Because the US government actually had supervision at that time, vampires could not blatantly suck blood from living people, and could only occasionally cause some missing cases. But the price of medical plasma was too expensive, and many vampires could not afford it. According to many vampires, the US government is the biggest vampire in the world, because they even suck the blood of vampires. After all, not every vampire is very rich, so many vampires need to find cheap substitutes. The organization that Dommins belonged to at that time was the kind that provided plasma to vampires. They didn't have the courage to kidnap others and then do things like human plasma farms. This is too risky. Only a truly powerful mafia can do this. No. To be precise, this is no longer a mafia, but a terrorist. In most cases, Dommins and his organization only illegally purchase plasma. Because most medical plasma is donated by citizens for free. The government uses the plasma donated for free to blackmail the vampires, so it is understandable that they are scolded by the vampires as the world's largest vampire. However, many people are unwilling to donate blood for free. They hope to get some compensation when they donate blood. In simple terms, this is selling blood. Dommins' organization was doing this business back then. They specialized in collecting blood from those illegal blood selling points. Others can get a reward ranging from $100 to $300 for selling blood once. Many unemployed people are willing to make this money to do this. Selling blood can at least exchange for a week's living expenses. At that time, a bag of plasma could be sold for nearly $500 when the market was good. That was really profitable. That was also the best time for Dommins. Every day, he only needed to look after the illegal blood collection points and earn more than $10,000 a month. But the good times didn't last long. Due to various reasons, the vampire empire was destroyed by a group of people headed by Li Ji. And because of the emergence of the purification serum, the entire vampire group disappeared completely. Now that it has been exposed, the US government can no longer raise vampires to suck their blood. Under reluctance, the president and politicians issued an executive order to eliminate all vampires. Many government departments are very sad because without vampires, they have lost a large part of their income. For Damons, this is a fatal blow because he has lost his job. Fortunately, there is always a way out. The company found another good job. That is to sell a very good drug, a drug called Paradise No. 3. This drug is highly addictive, but has few side effects. It is sought after by many high-level drug addicts. Many people on Wall Street take this stuff, so there is no worry about not being able to sell the goods. The elites on Wall Street can pay a high price to buy this special drug. Originally, this kind of life was pretty good. But the good times didn't last long. Because Heaven 3 is a drug developed by Magneto. It is actually used to mutate the X gene of ordinary people. Later, Li Ji and others kidnapped the legendary blacksmith and used other methods to achieve what Magneto and the professor wanted to do but couldn't do. In the end, Magneto gave up his plan to transform all humans into mutants because Li Ji did a better job. So Heaven 3 was also stopped by Magneto. The formula of Heaven 3 is only in the hands of Magneto, and others can't copy it at all. The elites of Wall Street have become addicted to Heaven 3. They can no longer tolerate those low-purity drugs and those drugs with huge side effects. Countless people urged Damon's organization to deliver goods. These are all real big guys. In order to meet the requirements of these big guys and stabilize the customer base, the organization got a batch of Heaven 3 back from somewhere. But it was fine at first, but later this batch of Heaven 3 had problems. What they sold was not the real Heaven 3 from Magneto, but counterfeit goods sold to them by someone. This is a big mess. The elites of Wall Street are not easy to mess with. Because many of the elites of Wall Street have constant connections with politicians and those real top mafia families, such as helping them launder money. After they got angry, Damon's organization could no longer survive. The elites of Wall Street felt that they were deceived and had paid for their troubles, so they mobilized their own forces to eradicate Damon's organization in one fell swoop. From then on, Damons could no longer live a peaceful and leisurely life. Why is life so difficult? Damons sighed to the sky. I have to pay a loan of $3,000 a month for my house, pay $1,000 in property taxes, and pay $750 in property management fees every month. My child is about to go to elementary school, and I don't want him to go to a rubbish public school, and private schools and church schools require a lot of sponsorship. And there are still middle school and university fees waiting for me later. I need money, a lot of money. As a gang leader, Damons has his own troubles. In the past, he had an income of more than $10,000 a month, which was enough to support such a large family expenditure. But now his work income is unstable. How can he support such a large family expenditure? Moreover, the bank has begun to collect a loan of his house. However, he does not have much savings in his bank account. If he fails to pay the loan or property tax several times in arrears, the bank and the government will forcibly confiscate his house. However, there is always a way out. Damons found a way to make money from a friend who used to sell drugs. Selling X drugs. Damons asked his friend in disbelief. You can get the product from Tony Stark's factory. There is a shortage of X drug on the market right now. Scalpers can mark up the price by 20%, 50%, or even 100%. Damon's friend laughed and said, you only need to sell it. You don't need to worry about where we get the goods from. You can get a 50% commission for every batch of goods. This is more money than what you made from selling drugs or vampire plasma. Do you know how much a bottle of weight loss drug sells for? The price on the black market has soared to $700 a bottle. And there is still no demand. If you want to pay off your loan and leave money for your children to go to school, then come and do this with me. We are just scalpers reselling it. It is not illegal. Even if we are caught, the most we will pay is a fine. We won't go to jail. What do you think? Do you want to do it? Damons gritted his teeth and didn't think too much, because he needed the money too much in reality, so he quickly said, go. Why not? These are green dollars. Chapter 1135, Catching a Fake Drug Dealer. Since he started helping to distribute the X potion, Damon's life has gradually improved again. Because there are too many people in the market who need X potion, But the production capacity of X potion is not enough. So many people are willing to spend money to buy scalp goods. The price increase is not a problem, the key is to have the goods. Although Diamonds also doubted how his friend got so many scalp goods, because the price he brought was much cheaper than the market price. And even with such a much cheaper price, they increased the price, so the profit became higher. Would Tony Stark allow his men to flow so many scalp goods into the market? Diamonds didn't think about this question. Because thinking is not his area of expertise, he is better at working directly and doing things directly. He knows that he can make money by doing this, and that's enough. Everything else is fake. Now Diamonds can earn more than $70,000 a month, much more than he used to earn. He can easily pay off the mortgage, property taxes, various social security and children's tuition fees, and even save money to take his children to Disneyland. Or buying his wife a necklace made by Fontini. This was a life he could not imagine in the past. Now Diamonds has made up his mind. If anyone wants to mess up his life, if anyone wants to make him unable to live such a good life now, then he will definitely get angry and fight, even if the other party is Iron Man. However, there has been a little problem in the business recently. That is, someone actually complained that he was selling fakes. Boss, another person came to complain that we sell fakes. One of Diamonds' younger brothers wanted to report to Diamonds about the current situation. Since Diamonds made money again, he has gathered all his former younger brothers. These younger brothers have found it increasingly difficult to survive under the attack of the Justice League. The life of the underworld is just a way to make a living. If the underworld can't survive, who would want to mix in the underworld? So now the younger brothers have also changed their careers with him. What's going on? This is the third case this month. Diamonds said with some dissatisfaction. What was the reaction of the person who complained? How did you deal with it? Diamonds wanted to keep this business going and make it long-term and formal, so he still cared about customer reviews and after-sales service. Diamonds' younger brother said, a customer bought our X non-fat beauty potion. It was a lady who was going to attend a barbecue dinner. She bought our potion the day before, and after using it, she ate a lot at the barbecue dinner the next day. Then she came back and found that she had gained 3 pounds. She felt that we were selling fake medicine and it had no practical function at all. That's why she asked us for a refund. The younger brother told Diamonds everything that happened. Diamonds scratched his head. How did you deal with it? I said that it takes a certain amount of time for the potion to react after it is taken to generate the X gene. It will only be useful after the gene is generated. The interval between her taking it is too short. It is definitely not possible to use her ability before the gene starts to take effect. At present, this lady has been convinced by me. I said that it will take a week for the gene to take effect. Diamonds was quite satisfied with this explanation. He felt that this little brother was still useful. At least this was a very satisfactory solution. Even if he asked him to deal with it himself, he couldn't do it better than this little brother. Anyway, it was impossible to return the money. There is a principle for selling things by yourself, that is, you are absolutely not allowed to return the money. The money has gone into your pocket, how can you take it out? Exclamation mark. Diamonds waved his hand to let the little brother go out. He was still a little dissatisfied. He was dissatisfied with whether his friend gave him real medicine or fake medicine, because the consequences of selling fake medicine were too tragic. Think about your last employer, who was uprooted because he sold fake drugs to the elites of Wall Street. Even the boss disappeared and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. If you sell fake drugs, will you end up like this? So Diamonds called his friend to ask him what happened to the latest medicine. Just as Diamonds called to ask his friend, outside his base, Kick-Ass David, Mindy and Laura were lurking in the dark. The lady before is our informant. David said. She bought the X medicine from these scalpers, but it was useless. She also knows that there are other people, at least 3 or 4 people, who bought the X medicine from here, but it was useless and even had some adverse effects. So I deeply suspect that the X medicine sold here is fake. It may not only be useless to people, but also harmful to them. David said so confidently. Laura held up her face and said, since you are selling fake drugs, why don't you just call the Food and Drug Administration? These things seem to be under their jurisdiction. As soon as Lala finished speaking, Mindy said dissatisfiedly, if we have to call the government for everything, what's the point of us superheroes? We should solve these problems ourselves. Mindy was excited, but there was no sign of justice on her face. Her eyes had betrayed him. Laura knew very well that Mindy just wanted to find a place to cause trouble and vent her emotions. Mindy was still saying righteously, even if we want to find the government, we need to wait until we have solid evidence before we can find them. Without any evidence, how can we find him? Well, this is also a statement. Laura was barely convinced by Mindy. David sometimes found it incredible that these two girls have completely different personalities. Laura is quieter, while Mindy likes to make trouble all day long. How can these two girls get together and become such good friends? However, the friendship between the bosses is always hard to figure out, so it's better not to think about these things. Now that we have found this secret base with the informant, should we go and ask their leader a question? With the two big sisters around, David lowered his posture. Of course we should. Mindy smiled like a little devil. In Damon's office. What are you talking about? You can't say that. Don't tell me that this is not a fake drug. Even if it has all the functions, customers won't buy it. Damon's got the news he didn't want to hear the most. Those drugs may not be X drugs. They are just a high-quality imitation product. And now it's not just him who is selling it. Many places in the United States have started to sell this kind of thing. And his former friend also threatened him that if he dared to quit now, the huge organization behind the fake drug production and sales would not let him go. The channel has been established, and he must now work for the organization. Damons felt like he was trapped in a pyramid scheme. He couldn't get out of it. He put down the phone in his hand and fell into deep thought. Before he could ponder for long, a sharp knife was already against his throat, and the cold touch made him shudder. A cute little girl's voice said, "Good evening, Mr. Damons. Do you mind telling me about your fake medicine sales?" Chapter 1136 The Breached Channel. Sebastian's life has slowly become comfortable recently. Because he recently found a new source of money that can help the Hellfire Club overcome difficulties. In the past, the survival of the Hellfire Club was not optimistic. Because there are many guys in the Hellfire Club who can't keep up with the times. There is no way. Now the society is changing too much and too fast. If you can't keep up with the times for a while, you will be eliminated directly. In Sebastian's view, all these changes are caused by Tony Stark. It's all because Tony Stark made so many things and brought the Earth into the new century. He didn't know that the mastermind behind all this was actually a cook who liked to cook. If he knew that there was such a black pot cook in the world, then he would definitely kill this cook with all his strength. He can't kill Tony Stark now, because Tony Stark's power is too strong. It's not just his identity as Iron Man, but more importantly, the power of capital behind him. To put it bluntly, these advanced mutants in the Hellfire Club are actually a group of wealthy and powerful businessmen. Do they have a strong sense of belonging to the identity of mutants? That may not be the case. If they have a strong sense of belonging to the identity of mutants, why don't they lend a hand to help mutants out of trouble when they are in trouble? In the final analysis, mutants are just an identity they use to communicate with each other, just like seniors who graduated from the same university will always be closer to each other naturally. Just like those students who graduated from Harvard and Yale University, they will have their own alumni associations, and alumni will help each other and form a huge network of relationships. Harvard students can succeed more easily than students from other universities, not only because they are graduates of prestigious universities, but also because they have countless seniors who have achieved success behind them. These seniors are always willing to help those juniors who are worth helping. And the Hellfire Club is like this. The relationship between mutants is like the relationship between seniors and juniors. What really binds them together is actually interests. For most ordinary people, the new world created by Li Ji and others with great effort is good news and gospel for them, because the future world has more possibilities, better life, more opportunities, more equitable education and medical care. That is for many chaebols who have not had time to transform, the new era is their grave. Many people in the Hellfire Club are like this. They did not keep up with the pace of the era of transformation, but instead stuck to the rules and always wanted to see and see. In fact, this is a phenomenon of big corporate disease. After waiting for the era to really come, they found that they could no longer transform. Unless they are willing to give up most of their property and the business they have run for most of their lives. But cutting meat is too painful for these capitalists. To put it bluntly, most of the so-called elite mutants gathered in the Hellfire Club are a group of guys who don't see the rabbit and don't release the eagle. It's too difficult to let this group of Wong Shiren cut meat and bleed. But fortunately, Sebastian found a new way for everyone. That is, he obtained the desperate virus created by Dr. Ethan Zodiac. Sebastian mobilized the members of the Hellfire Club to reinvest in the extremis virus and the Zodiac. Dr. Ethan said that he didn't care too much about money. He cared more about whether the medicine he and Dr. Maya had developed could be used more widely. There were suitable channels to sell them. Sebastian agreed to Dr. Ethan's conditions. He promised that he would be able to sell the medicine. But in reality, it was not that easy. This was a genetic medicine, and it was hard to prove it. Tony Stark was able to get approval because of the right time, right place, and right people. All three aspects stood together, so it could be sold globally. It was too difficult for the Hellfire Club to apply for a channel for the sale of the extremis virus. Now the countries are very strict. The key is that Tony Stark has done a very good job, and the X medicine has always been in a monopoly position in various countries. This huge medicine not only made Tony Stark the world's top billionaire, but also made the channel dealers and governments of various countries in the world share the benefits and make a lot of money. It's not that no one has thought about getting the X potion, but it's impossible to get it because there is a mutant country behind the X potion. The actual production address of the X potion is in Tuvalu. So everyone wants to take advantage of Shuguang technology, but there is no way. Sebastian can't get the sales channel approval documents from various countries for the time being. But the desperate virus needs to be sold. The most important thing is to pave the way for large-scale sales in the future. So Sebastian used some other channels in the Hellfire Club. That is to sell it from the underground black market. Originally, the guys in the Hellfire Club are not good people. There are oligarchs, chaebols, big capitalists, and gangs. After this group of guys get together, don't expect their moral bottom line to be high. Or it can be said that this group of people has no so-called moral bottom line at all. Sebastian packaged the desperate virus as a high imitation X potion for sale for various reasons. In fact, the power of the desperate virus is indeed very strong. From a certain perspective, it is even more powerful than the X potion, but the stronger the ability, the more it is a double-edged sword. Once the extremis virus breaks out without order, its power will cause many people to suffer. Sebastian doesn't care. He even thinks that if there is any problem, he will put all these problems on the X medicine. He has even thought of the person to take the blame, that is Tony Stark. Only by defeating Tony Stark can the Hellfire Club have a better life. Sebastian's idea is not wrong from a certain perspective, but he doesn't know that even if he defeats Tony Stark, it is only a temporary solution. Because he has not solved the real mastermind behind the scenes. Now all the channels controlled by the Hellfire Club in the United States and even the world have begun to sell the extremis virus medicine. Everything seems to be going smoothly, but Sebastian received a not-so-good news today. That is, he heard from his men that a sales channel in New York was actually breached. Chapter 1137 Prelude to the 120th Jump. Sebastian was very angry because one of his sales channels was breached, and the breached channel was exactly Domins's. That day, under the leadership of Kick-Ass David, Mindy and Laura found Domins's lair directly. These two little devils never care how much trouble they can cause. Because there are a group of big guys behind them to help them clean up. No matter how big the trouble is, there will be someone to clean it up, so they are not afraid at all. Moreover, Mindy and Laura did not think that they had made any mistakes in destroying a den selling fake drugs. In their opinion, they were maintaining the peace of New York City and contributing to building a harmonious society. The New York City government and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration should give them a Medal of Honor. So after Mindy and the others found Domins's pharmacy sales point that day, Mindy taught Domins a lesson honestly and bluntly. Domins was forced by the two little devils to tell the story of his selling fake drugs. I was forced by life. Domins said with tears in front of Mindy, Laura and David. Give me a chance, big man. In the past, I had no choice but to be a bad guy because of life. But now I have a choice. I don't want to be a bad guy anymore. Give me a way out. I want to be a good person. Domins said sincerely. But Mindy didn't buy it. Mindy sneered and said, okay, if you want to be a good person, then go and tell the judge and see if the judge allows you to be a good person. Take away all the evidence. David and Laura take away all the related things. Mindy waved her hand, and Laura and David started to work. During this time, some company brothers wanted to come forward to stop them, but how could ordinary gangsters be better than the combination of Kick-Ass, Hit Girl and X-23? Kick-Ass is probably the weakest among them, but unlike the one in the movie, Kick-Ass in this universe has learned a lot of kung fu and internal kicking because he has Gunskin as his teacher. This is a profound move that neither Daredevil nor Matt the lawyer has learned. David once asked how strong he could be if he succeeded in practicing this kicking. Can he be compared with Spider-Man? Gunskin said at the time, those are two completely different directions of development. Spider-Man is a mutant, and kicking comes from self-cultivation. It is difficult to say who is stronger and who is weaker. They can be regarded as having their own advantages. So how good can the teacher be? As a young man, David still cares about these things. Gunskin pondered for a while, and then said, at least not weaker than the contemporary Iron Fist. That is the title of a strong man that has been passed down in Kunlun, China for thousands of years. It is the object of worship for countless people and has been the patron saint of China for a long time. Wow. Cool. David felt satisfied after getting this answer. Feeling his apprentice's happy look, Gunshaw was struggling with whether he should tell David that this Iron Fist was the weakest in history. Forget it, let's not tell it, let David be happy for a few years. However, even the weakest of the three, Kick-Ass, is much stronger than ordinary gangsters. If ordinary gang members fight David with pistols within 10 meters, the gang members basically have no chance of winning. David's movements are now extremely agile and explosive. His dodge and stick angles are very tricky. Domins's dozen of brothers were all knocked down by Mindy and the other three, and all the evidence, including the potion, was confiscated by them. But we caught them. What should we do next? Notify the police directly? Or notify the U.S. Food and Drug Administration? David had to ask about the follow-up treatment of these people. Mindy thought about it. If it was handed over directly to the New York police, it would probably be a troublesome matter, because he and others had just taken action, and maybe the New York City Police Commissioner would hold them responsible for the action. It would be wrong to hand it over to the Food and Drug Administration, but she was not familiar with the people in the Food and Drug Administration. After thinking about it, Mindy came up with a solution. Hand them over to the Night's Watch, and let Big Daddy and Spider-Man handle this matter. What do you think? As a little devil who was only responsible for causing trouble but never cleaning up the mess, Mindy didn't want to waste too much time managing the aftermath. So she simply escorted all these people to the place where the Night's Watch used to temporarily detain people, created by Big Daddy and the Punisher, and let Big Daddy and Spider-Man handle the follow-up matters. Of course, all the drugs and the funds obtained from selling fake drugs were also brought back by Mindy and the others. When Mindy notified Spider-Man that she had a criminal who needed Spider-Man to deal with, Peter Parker was the first to arrive at the scene. So this is the trouble you are talking about. Peter Parker looked at the dozen former gangsters and current scalpers who were arrested at the scene. He couldn't help but ask with a headache, what did these people do? Selling fake drugs. Mr. Spider-Man, can you give me an autograph? David answered first and asked for an autograph and a photo. Peter Parker is always nice to his fans. He took a photo with David and signed his name Spider-Man. After the photo, Spider-Man continued to be confused and said, selling fake drugs? Or are they scalpers selling goods? This needs to be clarified. I saw these labels. They are selling X potion. I know that there are some scalpers in the market who are hoarding goods. They buy low and sell high. But this is a gray area. The law does not explicitly stipulate that reselling is an illegal act. You have arrested so many people. If they are just scalpers, then you are in big trouble. Peter Parker still loves Mindy and Laura very much, because he watched and took care of these two little girls. It's fake medicine, not scalpers. Mindy said firmly, we have evidence and informants. They are just selling high-quality imitations of X medicine. It's not the real X medicine at all. It's just a placebo to deceive people when you take it, and it may even have bad effects. This time, Mindy turned into a righteous seraph, judging the devil with a lofty moral model and said, you must take care of this matter, Spider-Man. This is not selling fake clothes and fake bags. At most, you can scold them and that's it. These people are selling fake medicine, which may harm people's lives. Mindy's little face now exudes the light of justice, so dazzling that people can't look directly at it. Peter Parker covered his eyes with his hands, looked at Mindy through his fingers and said, I don't know when you have such a sense of justice, Mindy. It's my duty to punish evil and promote good. Mindy said so shamelessly that even Laura couldn't help turning her head away, not wanting to look at this good friend. Domins's channel was destroyed and handed over to the Night's Watch. Spider-Man plans to analyze these potions to see if the X potion they are selling is fake or real. If it is really fake, then the source must be destroyed, because selling fake drugs can cause great harm to people. And now Sebastian is furious because a sales channel in New York City has been cut off. He plans to find out who destroyed his sales channel. He wants to give these people a thunderbolt to let them know that they have offended someone they shouldn't have. Chapter 1138 2099 AD. For Sebastian, he must find out the guy who cleared his sales channels, no matter if it is an individual or an organization. He must find out the person who dares to touch his tiger's beard and teach him a lesson. Although the Hellfire Club is a niche organization, it does not mean that this organization has no power, nor does it mean that this organization is easy to bully. In fact, the Hellfire Club has always been wandering between black and white, and it can even be said that they have a greater influence in the underworld, because this group of guys sometimes do not abide by the law. In order to achieve their goals, many members of the Hellfire Club do not hesitate to do some illegal things. Dommins and his brothers were sent to the Night Watch Alliance for custody by Mindy and Laura. Now Spider-Man, Big Daddy and others are in charge of guarding, and Spider-Man is also taking time to analyze the potions sold by Dommins and others to see if they are selling scalpers or fakes. If it is scalpers, then there is no way to accuse them or impose any punishment. Because although scalping is very despicable, reselling is not illegal in essence anyway. Buying low and selling high is a business behavior. Although it is really annoying in many cases, as long as they don't exploit legal loopholes, it is not a big deal. It can only be condemned morally. But if Spider-Man finds out that they are selling fakes, it will be completely different. Because the nature of selling fakes is completely different from selling scalpers. Especially if selling fakes may cause harm to the user, it is a very serious matter. There was a fake flu vaccine incident. If it is not exposed, I don't know how many people will be in trouble. So Spider-Man Peter Parker is still very concerned about this matter and dare not be careless. If it is really selling fakes, then he will not only notify the Food and Drug Administration, but also tell Tony Stark, mobilize Tony Stark's power, and destroy the source of selling fake drugs. Now Sebastian is actively looking for who his opponent is. Peter Parker is still studying whether Dommins' potion is true or false, but Luigi has now taken his girlfriend and two burdens to the other world. Jason, is this the other world? It looks like our world. I seem to have seen a place similar to the Stark Group building. In a large and crowded square, Strange couldn't help but exclaimed. Because the world they are in now is very wonderful. This world is also called Earth, but it should belong to an Earth in the near future. And the place where they are now looks like New York's Times Square. Looking up, the high-rise buildings in New York are even more prosperous. On a night with drizzling rain, the bright lights dyed the entire sky with a dreamy color. There are many light strips around each building. Make them look like huge three-dimensional luminous bodies, emitting their light in the city. Len patted Luigi on the shoulder and said, "Are you sure? We really have arrived in another world, not through time and space. Or did you let Master Ancient One use the time stone to fast forward to a certain future time and space?" Len asked in a low voice, and her question was not unreasonable. Because from various aspects, they seemed to have arrived in a near future. Luigi assured that he definitely did not use any ability to travel into the future. He just expanded the half-plane space and found a space crack to come to this world. Luigi looked around and found a huge LED screen in Times Square, projecting a holographic three-dimensional image. It was a female anchor reporting the weather news of the day, saying that there would be light rain tonight. Of course, Luigi did not care about these contents. He cared about the time and place. At the end of the news, he understood the information he wanted, that is, they were indeed in New York. The current location was indeed in the square, and the timeline was 2099. No wonder the people around were wearing strange clothes that seemed strange to Luigi and his friends, such as various tights, various lines carved on the body, and strange hats. One by one, cars with novel and weird shapes drove by at high speed on the road next to them. What surprised Luigi and others was that these cars were still using four wheels. It is already 2099. In Luigi's time, although four-wheeled cars and two-wheeled motorcycles are still in use, the anti-gravity cars developed by Tony Stark have begun mass production. Although anti-gravity cars are still only toys for a few rich people in Luigi's time, looking forward to the near future. About 20 years later, anti-gravity cars will completely replace four-wheeled cars. Anti-gravity cars have better trafficability, more stable and comfortable driving experience. This is difficult to compare with traditional four-wheeled cars. Is this New York in 2099? Brian asked in disbelief. Why does it seem that there is no sense of science fiction and the future here except that everyone is wearing strange clothes, the shape of cars is getting weirder, the buildings are getting taller, and the air quality is getting worse? Brian's sigh is indeed correct. It is already 2099, but it does not feel how good in advance the world has become. Lee Ji and his four companions strolled down the street and saw some pedestrians in a hurry. In the spring drizzle, they hurried forward, not knowing whether they were in a hurry to go home or busy with work. They could also see some dimly lit alleys, where some guys who looked like gangsters were doing all kinds of transactions. Almost all pedestrians avoided these alleys, and it seemed that no one wanted to get into trouble. Even on the street, Lee Ji and his friends could not see any police. Maybe this is not a universe similar to ours. Lee Ji could only think so. Maybe there is no Spider-Man, Iron Man, or these superheroes in this world. This may be just an ordinary world. The development of science and technology is also relatively ordinary. Lee Ji's statement made the other three nod their heads, which was considered to be in agreement. Only in this way can the current situation of this society be explained. Just when Lee Ji and others wanted to learn more about the situation in this world, they found themselves surrounded by a group of guys in uniforms. It was unknown whether they were police, security guards, or something else. Their uniforms were a bit like the nano-suits in the Crisis, but Lee Ji suspected that these clothes might just look similar, but might not be as powerful as the nano-suits. And Lee Ji didn't know why he and others were suddenly surrounded. What are you four doing? Why don't you dress according to Lord Osborn's order? Why are you four wearing strange clothes? A guy who looked like a leader pointed at Lee Ji and the other four and asked. Lee Ji's people looked at each other in bewilderment. What's going on? In 2099, even what to wear must be in accordance with regulations? Isn't this going backwards? Just as Lee Ji and the others were looking at each other in bewilderment, a voice came from the sky. Norman Osborn's lackeys, the monitors are bullying the citizens again. A pervert in a tights wearing a red, blue and black uniform fell from the sky. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1139 Spider-Man Miguel's Experience, Part 1. The pervert wearing red, blue and black tights who fell from the sky looked like an old acquaintance of the security guards wearing nano uniforms. When the security captain saw the pervert in tights appear, he immediately gave up on catching Lee Ji and others. Instead, he called his team members and shouted at the pervert in tights, "Spider-Man! Catch him!" The 7 or 8 surveillance security guards wearing similar nano-combat uniforms who had surrounded Lee Ji and others let go of Lee Ji and all rushed towards Spider-Man. It seemed that this was not the first time the two sides had fought. The two gangs fought each other, and it seemed that there was some deep hatred. The passers-by here had originally fled because of the appearance of the surveillance guards. Now after seeing Spider-Man and the surveillance guards fighting, many people did not just leave quickly, but ran away. Fearing that something bad would happen to them, the residents and shops on both sides also closed their doors and windows, and even pulled the curtains, as if to show that they had not seen anything. Lee Ji and others, who were the source of the conflict, watched the show from the side. Because they couldn't figure out who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. What deep hatred was there between the two groups? However, Lee Ji still noticed what the security captain said just now, and he repeated it in a low voice. Is that guy, security captain, in charge of the man in the tights uniform Spider-Man? Brian nodded. Yes, if I heard it correctly, he did call the masked man in the tights that way. Is he the Spider-Man of this world? Len asked Lee Ji with some curiosity. If it is Spider-Man, should we help him? Strange had already prepared the fireball spell, and he would start as long as Lee Ji gave the order. However, Lee Ji was still a little unclear about who was the good guy and who was the bad guy here, because in a parallel universe, it is very likely that everything would be reversed. While Lee Ji was thinking, Spider-Man 2099, who had been fighting with the surveillance security guards, saw that Lee Ji and the others were still watching the fun. He said to Lee Ji and the others angrily, "Hey! Don't you know how to run away? Or are you scared? Let me tell you, if you stand here and keep watching the show, then these surveillance guards of public eye will not let you have a good time later. As he said this, Spider-Man 2099 had just knocked down a surveillance guard. His moves were much more ruthless than the Spider-Man Peter Parker that Lee Ji knew. Not only were his moves ruthless, but his attack methods were also very sharp and aggressive. But even so, he still didn't kill anyone. At most, he injured someone, or defeated the enemy with one move. This is very similar to Spider-Man. Among the superheroes in the Marvel Universe, it seems that only Spider-Man will not take the initiative to kill people. Except for unexpected circumstances, this Spider-Man 2099 helped him and the others out of trouble once before, and now he is still concerned about whether he and the others have escaped. In addition, due to his natural affection for Spider-Man, after all, he grew up with Spider-Man Peter Parker, didn't he? Lee Ji made a quick decision. Help Spider-Man. Lee Ji snapped his fingers and waved his hands as soon as he finished speaking. Of course, the universe did not explode after the snap, but Brian and Strange rushed out. Originally, Master Ancient One said that he brought them out to gain experience and gain some practical experience. Now that there is a need for fighting, of course, let them go. Otherwise, why bring two burdens out? Do you need a boss like yourself to deal with such small soldiers? This is too embarrassing. Lee Ji has his own pride. Anyway, there are two free coolies, so why not use them? The surveillance security guards called Public Eyes by Spider-Man 2099 still have some fighting power. It seems that these guys have received professional training and are very good at fighting skills. And those costumes that look like nano-combat suits seem to be somewhat useful. Although not as exaggerated as the equipment in Crisis, these surveillance security guards have almost the combat power of human limit. It is probably the power of pushing 750 kilograms 900 kg, the running speed of 40-55 kilometers, and super fast reaction, etc. In short, according to Lee Ji's statistics, these surveillance security guards have the combat power of about, slightly less than, one Captain America. If you want to convert, about one surveillance security guard is equal to the combat power of 0.75 Captain Steve Rogers. Although these guys don't have Captain America's shield, they are equipped with a new type of firearm. A weapon similar to a pistol, but it shoots laser beams. This thing is very powerful. A shot at a solid street lamp made of alum material on the roadside can penetrate a hole as thick as 3 fingers. If it is hit on the body, Lee Ji estimates that 2099 Spider-Man will die directly. Although 2099 Spider-Man seems to have a much stronger combat power than Peter Spider-Man. But his enemies are stronger than the ones Peter Parker has to face. Even if these guys are just minions, they are not easy to deal with. Spider-Man 2099 fought a little thrillingly. Under the mask of Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara was a little anxious. He didn't plan to have a big fight with these monitors and security guards today. He just passed by and happened to see the monitors serving the public eye, questioning Lee Ji and others. Just by looking at Lee Ji and others, Miguel knew why these guys were questioned. Because these guys did not dress according to the requirements of alchemy. Now it is not the New York City government that controls New York City, but a company called Alchemy. About a few decades ago, the US government was completely capitalized under the manipulation of those who were interested. The power of the national government was hollowed out, and the capitalist oligarchs monopolized all domestic rights. And through all kinds of political propaganda and beautification packaging, the capitalists called this liberalization of people's sovereignty. It's fucking ridiculous. Miguel now doesn't know if the United States can still be considered a real country. Alchemy has taken control of the entire operation of New York. This includes public infrastructure, medical services, and even the power of the police has been weakened. It has become the security department of Alchemy, Public Eye, to maintain social order. And these guys working in Public Eye are called monitors. Public Eye can authorize monitors to interrogate, arrest, and hear citizens, and even throw them into Public Eye prison without going through the court. Maybe it will be a formality. This Public Eye is said to maintain social order, but in fact it is more often to protect the interests of the company. Anyone who dares to resist alchemy in New York City will be secretly arrested by them. Many people have become prisoners. Lee Ji and others were interrogated because they did not dress according to Alchemy's regulations. Alchemy requires citizens to wear some of Alchemy's products in their basic clothing. On the surface, these products are for the health of citizens. For example, check heart rate, check blood sugar, etc. If an illness occurs, The medical center will be notified. If the blood pressure rises or if you are very angry, these products will also release some medicines to relieve symptoms. These seem to be good policies, but Miguel knows what Alchemy is up to. Not to mention how expensive these devices are, Alchemy has a monopoly on all medical and daily necessities for tens of millions of people in New York City. Most importantly, those devices actually have the function of monitoring citizens. If someone is going to do something bad, such as destroying some of Alchemy's businesses, then Alchemy will soon know about it and arrest the person. Chapter 1140 Spider-Man Miguel's Experience, Part 2. For example, Miguel knew that there was a massage parlor in Chinatown. Because the massage technicians would mix Chinese medicine to treat coughs, it was very effective. Some customers who came for massage took his medicine and cured their coughs. But ordinary citizens did not know that the devices these people wore sent data back to Alchemy. The company found that their coughs were cured without medicine. They did not go to the pharmacy or hospital under Alchemy to buy medicine for treatment, and then followed the clues. Alchemy quickly sent people to seal up the massage parlor. The charge was illegal practice of medicine, and the kind technician was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Please. How many years did you sentence a rapist last time? In the final analysis, it was because the medicines mixed by the technicians in this massage parlor were effective and cheap, only 1/5 of the price of the same products of Alchemy. Alchemy would kill a chicken to scare the monkey for a little profit. And Li Ji and others did not wear Alchemy's equipment, which was a blatant defiance of Alchemy. Just like some underground organizations resisting the oppression of Alchemy Company, their symbol is not to use any products of Alchemy Company. And if you go to the street like this, you will definitely be targeted by the monitors. Because this is what they do. Why does Miguel know so much? Because Miguel originally worked at Alchemy Company. But for various reasons, Miguel left Alchemy Company and became Spider-Man. He is now a guy who specifically opposes Alchemy Company. And now Miguel is a little anxious. These guys who resist Alchemy Company are really getting bolder and bolder. They come out directly in the open without any disguise. Aren't they afraid of being evaporated by Alchemy Company? Miguel looked at Li Ji and others anxiously. If things get out of hand later, there will be more monitors coming, and it will be difficult for him to protect these people. How stupid. Miguel defined Li Ji and others in his heart. He can only get rid of the enemies in front of him as soon as possible, and then let these guys leave. But just when Miguel was thinking about this, he saw 2 of the 4 people who were watching the show from a distance. Li Ji actually rushed over. No, to be precise, one guy rushed over, and the other guy stood there. The guy who rushed over originally had a box on his back, which looked like a piano. But now he took out the contents of the box, and it was not a piano at all, but a sharp sword. Brian drew out the sword of promise of victory, controlled the force transmitted to him by the holy sword, and swung it at a monitoring security guard with as little force as possible. The security guard was originally planning to shoot at Spider-Man. Originally, he was aiming seriously, preparing to rely on his unparalleled shooting skills, to use Biu shooting skills to eliminate Spider-Man, the company's biggest threat. But when the security guard was shooting happily, he suddenly felt a huge force coming from his left waist. Before he could react enough, he felt his feet off the ground and flew up like a cloud. Brian used the sword of promise of victory as a baseball bat, and used the spine of the sword to whip the security guard away. Strange's fireball spell was also ready in the distance. More than a dozen fireballs rushed towards the security guards with a scorching red light like thunder. And this dazzling light reminded the security guards that there was an attack behind them. The security captain shouted, "There is a sneak attack." Just after he finished shouting, he was hit by 2 fireballs. Fortunately, Strange did not use his full strength, and the clothes had a certain protective effect. Otherwise, such a blow would be enough to kill the security captain. Instead of being stunned and having 4 broken ribs like now, Miguel looked at Strange and Brian, who joined the battle, with some surprise. The combat effectiveness of these 2 is really good. The guy who can cast fireballs is simply a magic weapon for clearing small monsters. Spider-Man, who had to dodge the BU guns held by the monitoring security guards, suddenly received powerful firepower assistance. Strange's fireball technique suppressed the remaining security guards and they couldn't raise their heads. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Brian hit several home runs with his sword of victory. Miguel also took the opportunity to deal with the remaining guys. With the cooperation of the 3, these monitor security guards were no match at all. However, Li Ji still shook his head dissatisfied. Lan looked at Li Ji and asked, "Why? You don't have to fight, why are you shaking your head?" "It's not that. I mean that New York City doesn't look like a place of good people. Look at this place, there is no police to take care of it." Li Ji shook his head. Lan spread his hands. "Maybe these guys are the police. Are the police so fierce now?" Li Ji scratched his head. "In that case, our hero is better." While Li Ji and Lan were chatting, the battle on Miguel's side also ended. Miguel was furious when he saw Li Ji flirting with his girlfriend over there. "It would be fine if you didn't come to help in the fight just now. Maybe this guy is a weak chicken. Now the fight is over, and you still don't know how to run. You actually have time to flirt with girls?" Exclamation mark. "Don't you know that we just eliminated a group of monitors, which is very dangerous in New York City?" Exclamation mark. "Hurry up. Otherwise, the patrol boat of public eye will come soon. If we don't leave, we won't be able to leave in time later." Miguel reminded Li Ji and others. Li Ji glanced at Miguel, then pointed to the sky and said, "Is the spaceship you are talking about something like this?" Miguel turned his head and saw that an armored troop carrier was getting closer and closer in his field of vision. "This thing is not easy to deal with, it is a real thing for fighting. Even rockets and laser beams can hardly penetrate the armor of this kind of spaceship. Damn it." Miguel cursed, and then said, "Go quickly. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave later. An armored troop carrier can carry at least 50 fully armed monitors. They are stronger than these guys lying on the ground." Li Ji smiled at Miguel. "I appreciate your kindness, Spider-Man. Can you tell me what happened here when you have time? New York seems to be a bit chaotic. What time is it? You still have the mood to talk to me about this? Didn't you see the spaceship?" Miguel was going crazy. Who on earth did he save today? Is he mentally ill? Li Ji glanced at the armored troop carrier in the distance. "Okay, if you think it disturbs us, then let it stop first." Li Ji just finished speaking, and suddenly waved his hand, and a flash of lightning flashed. The thunder knife was thrown out by him. The flying thunder knife was like a high-speed saw to saw log. The light and shadow flashed and directly sawed the troop carrier into two halves. Then it flew back to Li Ji's hand. It took Li Ji less than 3 seconds to complete all this. He smiled and said to Miguel, "Can we talk now?" In Miguel's incredible eyes, he saw the armored personnel carrier slowly disintegrating in midair. He suddenly realized that maybe he didn't need to save these people at all. Chapter 1141. The base was breached. Miguel's guess was right. Li Ji and the others really didn't need him to save them. On the contrary, it was Li Ji and the others who saved Miguel this time. Otherwise, if the armored personnel carrier brought more than 100 surveillance security guards, Miguel would have to escape. He couldn't deal with so many guys wearing nano-suits at once. Miguel's face was a little complicated under the mask. He said to Li Ji's people, "Follow me." Now he knew that Li Ji and the others were not ordinary people, so he was no longer polite to them. Miguel immediately left here by swinging on the spider silk. These people were so powerful that they must be able to keep up with his speed. Whatever Miguel thought, he wandered faster and faster in the city. No matter what Miguel felt strange, those guys didn't seem to keep up with him. Was it because he was wandering too fast? Or were they not good at moving quickly? Miguel thought to himself, and he suddenly felt a little more balanced. After all, he was still Spider-Man. How could any random cat or dog be better than him? Miguel thought so and found a little confidence. As for whether Li Ji and others could come to him, he didn't care anymore, because Li Ji and others were a little strange, and he didn't really want to deal with Li Ji and others. Seeing that Li Ji and others didn't chase him, Miguel let down his guard. He thought Li Ji and others would not come back, so he wandered all the way to his secret base. After arriving at the base, Miguel took off his spider mask and took a breath. His mission today is not to go out and hang out, and then rescue Li Ji and others. He has other things to do. I got a message that there seems to be a mysterious thing in China. Even Norman Osborn contacted his allies in China to get that thing. Miguel invaded Alchemy Company and wanted to find some information from it. He carried a USB flash drive with him, which was the information he copied from Alchemy Company before. But just when Miguel was about to see if there was anything useful in these materials, a space gate suddenly opened, and Li Ji and 4 others filed out of the space gate. "It's a nice place." Li Ji, who had just walked out, looked at Miguel's secret base. There are many high-tech equipment in the secret base. There are equipment for making various equipment, medical supplies, and equipment that looks like it is used for scientific research. Li Ji saw Miguel taking off his mask. He was completely different from the Peter Parker in his memory, but this guy was definitely not Peter Parker. However, he and Peter Parker have one thing in common, that is, they are both technology geeks. Of course, in addition to Li Ji, Lan, Strange, and Brian are also looking at Miguel's base. Unlike Li Ji, who is a science illiterate, Brian and Starkey are both academic masters. Brian is a graduate student in the Department of Physics at the University of London, and Strange's science grades were also very good in college. He also obtained a doctorate in medicine. The two of them looked at and touched the equipment in Brian's secret base, and were a little amazed. Although the technology used is slightly different from the equipment technology in their world line, the things used by Miguel are still relatively advanced. However, on second thought, the timeline here is already 2009, and it is no big deal to have some advanced things. On the contrary, from a certain point of view, the development of 2099 in this world line is not particularly surprising. Miguel was a little surprised and at a loss for what to do when Li Ji and others suddenly appeared in his secret base. Because his secret base was suddenly exposed, and his appearance was also exposed in front of these people. You know, Spider-Man always wears a mask. Why does he wear a mask? It is to hide his identity. What are you doing? You are trespassing. Miguel was a little angry. Li Ji scratched his head. Just now you told us that you came with you. Oh. Mick was speechless for a moment. He seemed to have said such a thing just now, but because he saw that Li Ji and others did not seem to follow him, he did not care and walked away directly. Unexpectedly, they actually followed him to the base in this way. I thought you were inviting us to your house. Li Ji looked innocent, but was he really innocent? Or did he say that he calculated it himself? That was unknown. Anyway, Li Ji was always thick-skinned, and you couldn't see any shyness or guilt on his face. Although Li Ji looked innocent, Miguel was still very alert. He quietly touched his sleeves. There was a spider silk launcher hidden on his wrist. If these guys had bad intentions, he didn't mind subduing them. But he seemed to have forgotten that he might not be able to subdue these fierce guys. Who are you? What is your purpose? Or is everything today a trap set by you, and you are actually in the same group as the supervisor? Miguel questioned loudly. Li Ji shrugged. If we were in the same group as the so-called monitor, your place would have been breached long ago. Don't forget, I just destroyed an armored spaceship. Miguel looked at Li Ji and Lan, and suddenly said, are you a foreign resistance organization? Lan, Strange and Brian didn't know how to answer, because they had just arrived here and didn't know what the resistance organization was. However, Li Ji was always responsible for lying, so he said directly, you can think so. Look at me and this lady, we are both Chinese. My name is Li Ji, and her name is Lan. And these two are Brian, and his name is Strange, and they are British. Li Ji introduced himself roughly. We just came here and don't know a lot of things, so we want to find someone to ask, and we happen to meet you. So we just want to learn from you about what happened here and in New York. Li Ji spoke very sincerely, looking like an honest man. Miguel touched his chin. Listen, whether you are the resistance or not, or someone else, you broke into my base like this. It's not breaking in, you invited us here. Li Ji interrupted Miguel, emphasizing that he and others did not come uninvited. Well, no matter what it is, you are enough. This is not the place for you to come. Damn it, you actually saw my appearance. Miguel was very annoyed that his appearance was seen by Li Ji and others. Confidentiality was lost. But even so, he did not say that he wanted to kill people to silence them, but just wanted to drive Li Ji and others away. But how could Li Ji and others leave so easily? This world is a parallel universe similar to the Marvel universe where he lives. Maybe the brothers of the dancing gems are in this universe. Li Ji wanted to find some clues from Miguel. This world seems a bit chaotic. Just when Miguel wanted to completely expel Li Ji and others, a huge explosion was heard. Several spaceships full of monitors and security guards fell from the sky. The high-decibel loudspeaker on the ship said, Spider-Man, you are wanted for violating more than 100 laws and regulations of the public eye. Please give up resistance, or we will take fatal blows. Miguel subconsciously said to Li Ji and others, sure enough, you are a trap. He quickly put on his mask. Li Ji frowned. He didn't think that he and others would attract the so-called public eye. He was afraid that something went wrong with Miguel himself. Chapter 1142 Captain America 2099. Miguel thought that it was Li Ji and others who called the monitor security guards over. But Li Ji can say with a clear conscience, it was not me who did it. Because Li Ji has just come to this world, he has not figured out what these monitors are. But judging from the behavior of these monitors, these guys are really not good birds. They always pull out their guns and shoot people, and the power of those BU guns is also very strong. These guys don't care whether they will accidentally hurt people around them. This style of behavior is really similar to that of villains like Hydra. Li Ji didn't explain to Miguel about the sudden appearance of the monitors. Because there is nothing to explain. So Li Ji and others simply beat the people who came and then talked about it. Li Ji and others' actions made Miguel very puzzled. Are these people helping him or hurting him? But the number of monitor security guards who came is a little too much. If Miguel relies on himself alone, he will definitely not be able to deal with it. Fortunately, Strange and Brian are both out for training, gaining some practical experience and so on. They are very enthusiastic now. Because before they started, Li Ji once whispered to them, if you want to exert your greatest ability, then imagine the enemy you see as the guy you hate the most and hide him hard. As long as you can control your power as you want, you can succeed. And now both of them are burning with anger. When Brian looks at each monitor security guard, he imagines the other party as Peter Parker. I punch a Peter monster, I chop a Peter monster away with a sword. I kick a Peter monster. Brian is addicted to fighting and feels very happy. He treats all the monitor security guards as Peter Parker and beats them up. I told you to come to London. I told you to take Gwen away. I let you be proud. I let you laugh. I let you talk nonsense. I can't beat you to death. Brian's resentment that has accumulated in his heart for a long time was vented, and he felt much more relaxed. And when wielding the Holy Sword, he was more handy. He played the Holy Sword in a variety of ways. 100 monitor security guards are not enough for him to fight alone. On the other side, Strange also practiced a training method that Li Ji said. He also imagined all the monitors and security guards to be the guy he hated the most. I'll let you, a fat otaku, snatch my Christine. I'll let you snatch it. I'll let you snatch it. See if my fireball technique doesn't burn your dog head. I'll let you lie to me that I have the water of wisdom, and see if my great decomposition technique will dismember you. And that damn Li Ji. I'll let you introduce Fatty Tuo to work in the hospital. I'll let you be nosy. I'll let you be the most despicable. See if my freezing technique will freeze you into a human stick. Strange thought to himself, and a huge icicle rose from the ground, instantly freezing several armored personnel carriers. And Doom, I'll let you bully me every day. I'll let you ask me to wash your socks. Wash. Wash. Wash your XXX head. Look at my invincible washing machine water spout. One day I'll make you regret it. Then I'll let you wash my underwear every day. Another water spout that soared into the sky made the monitors and security guards who were originally planning to attack Miguel's base completely wet and unconscious. And Strange felt particularly comfortable venting his magical energy like this. He also mastered more magic. Seeing Strange and Brian fighting like crazy, they were like the god of war and the god of magic descending to the earth. Lan was ready to attack, but now Brian and Strange's ears showed that she didn't need to attack. She just noticed that Li Ji had talked to Brian and Strange before. After Li Ji spoke, the two of them seemed to be extremely brave. Lan asked Li Ji curiously, "What did you say to them just now?" Li Ji shook his head and said indifferently, "Nothing, I just used the power of language to open the violent buff, bloodthirsty buff, critical buff, etc. for them. Don't you know how to learn magic for various reasons? I cure problems? How do you buff them?" Lan asked curiously. Li Ji laughed happily, "Huh. Who said that only magic can buff people?" Miguel originally thought there would be a fierce battle, but because of the great activity of Brian and Strange, the attack of the monitor security on him was thwarted this time. Even before he made any effort, the monitor security on the opposite side was about to retreat. 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 This is a trap set by Spider-Man. We've been fooled. The leader of the surveillance security shouted to retreat but was slapped away by Brian's sword. The leader was hit with a home run, and the remaining security guards who were paid to work scattered like birds and beasts, boarding the few intact armored personnel carriers in a mess, and then all fled like flying. Only Miguel, Li Ji and 4 others were left there, and And there were many security guards lying on the ground groaning. And there was a mess of wreckage all around. Miguel was getting more and more confused. Who are you for? Luigi shrugged. You have guessed it before. We are a foreign resistance organization. We are here to fight against these guys, monitors. That's why we helped you fight off the attack twice in a row. Spider-Man, you are a little famous. That's why we helped you. It's not us who led these guys here. On the contrary, in my opinion, you are in trouble, so they are chasing you relentlessly. Miguel curled his lips. He had to admit that what Luigi said made sense. Maybe when he went to steal the information today, he leaked his whereabouts, so he was chased by the monitors and security guards. But this also indirectly confirmed that the information he got was very important. But this information is so important, can he keep it? This is a big problem. If the monitors come to arrest him with this intensity again, I am afraid it will be difficult for him to escape. Thinking of this, Miguel suddenly said, "Can I trust you?" He asked very seriously. Because Luigi and others have helped him fight off the monitors and security guards twice. This group of people is really strong, very strong. If I have their help, my plan might be better realized. Luigi nodded. If it is a token of my loyalty, I guess these things outside, the mess and the dead and injured of the surveillance security guards, can prove whether I am trustworthy. Miguel nodded. Okay, follow me. This time you have to follow me closely. Don't use the trick of opening the door anymore. Luigi and others followed Miguel and hid and ran all the way to another secret base of Miguel. I have a companion here, you'd better be respectful. Miguel reminded before entering the base. Okay, but do you mind telling me who your companion is? Captain America. Puff. Luigi almost sprayed. Steve Rogers, this old man is really immortal. Has he been active from World War II to 2099? Could it be that he is the real male protagonist of the Marvel Universe? Luigi followed Miguel into the base with such doubts. When he saw a strong and muscular figure in the base wearing a familiar but slightly different red and blue star-spangled uniform, Luigi recognized at first sight that this person must be Captain America. But why does Captain America's chest muscles look stronger than before? And he has long hair. Luigi whispered. Lan kicked Luigi, nonsense. Because it's for girls. Chapter 1143 The Past of the Outburst. P.S. The plot of 2099 is my modified version to ensure the continuity of the plot. Please do not apply the story of Spider-Man 2099 to it. Please note this, the Captain America of 2099 is a woman? Exclamation mark. Luigi was a little surprised. It felt like some fanfictions where the characters in the original story were forcibly changed. For example, Sun Wukong, Tang Sanzang, Luo Ji. However, Luigi had read many similar stories in his previous life, so he was more or less resistant. Well, it's just a female Captain America, no big deal. Luigi thought so. Although Brian, Strange and Lan were also curious, they did not show any strange expressions on their faces. After all, Captain America is much more famous than Spider-Man in their world line. Back then, the Coca-Cola packaging had Captain Rogers' head printed on it, until Captain Rogers sued the US military. Well, Coca-Cola is still printing Captain Rogers' head on the Coke bottle. For this reason, they terminated their cooperation with the military and instead directly signed a $35 million per year endorsement contract with Rogers. Captain Rogers said that the money would be donated to the Mutual Aid Foundation for retired disabled veterans. For those who were injured on the battlefield and had war traumatic sequelae, as well as those who had difficulties in life and disabilities after retirement. It must be said that Captain Rogers is indeed the superhero with the most brand promotion value. If it were a certain Hawkeye, he would have to work for 350 years to earn this money. In comparison, it is self-evident how much commercial appeal Captain Rogers has. I saw the explosion, coming from where you live. I'm a little worried about you, but you look alive. The woman in Captain America's uniform came over and gave Miguel a hug. She was wearing the captain's hood, so her face could not be seen clearly. But from her eyes, it can be seen that she was a little wary and curious about the people who followed Miguel. Who are they? The American female captain asked, and she did not hide her vigilance against Luigi and others, because she didn't know these guys. They are my lifesavers. The number of monitors that attacked me this time was unexpectedly large. Miguel told the American female captain what happened before. If it weren't for their help, I would have died somewhere. The American female captain patted Miguel on the shoulder. Fortunately, you are not dead yet. But this can also prove that the information you got is very important. It will be of great help to us to overthrow the brutal rule of Alchemy Company. Yes, I think so too. Miguel shrugged, but these information are very important, so I think we may need help. The American female captain glanced at Li Ji and others, so they are helpers. They are resistance organizations in other regions. They are very strong. This Li Ji can throw knives, and one knife can kill an armored personnel carrier. This Strange can cast spells and is also very strong. This Brian is a master of swordsmanship, and his swordsmanship is superb. This Missland seems to have mastered the ability of space jump. The four of them are very capable. Miguel roughly introduced the characteristics of Li Ji and others to the American female captain. The American female captain looked at Li Ji and others with some curiosity. She asked, although it may be a bit rude, for safety reasons, can I ask you where your abilities come from? Li Ji and the other four looked at each other, and then Li Ji said, the abilities of the four of us come from practice. Practice? Yes, practice. In fact, we all have the same master. His name is Ancient One. He is a strong man. He is proficient in martial arts, magic, etc. We are his disciples and have been following him to practice in the Himalayas. Li Ji's words cannot be said to be completely false. Anyway, Lan and Strange are disciples of Ancient One, and Brian and himself may have unknown connections with Ancient One, so they can also be considered half-disciples. So it can be said that it is not wrong to say that Ancient One is the master. However, the American female captain was a little curious. Your master knows so many things. Yes, a lot, and very powerful. Li Ji said this seriously. So he asked you to join the resistance organization. The American female captain continued to ask. It can be considered. Li Ji nodded. If your master is so strong, why doesn't he join the resistance organization himself? Huh? Faced with this sudden questioning of Captain America, Li Ji really didn't know how to answer for a while. Should he say, Ancient One is not in this world? Fortunately, Miguel came to the rescue and said, okay, calm down Roberta, Captain America's name. You know what happened in the past, I told you. Those things that happened in the past made many former superheroes discouraged and no longer come out. I guess their master Ancient One is the same. What happened in the past? Li Ji noticed the key point of Miguel's words. Did your master tell you? No. Well, maybe the past is too unbearable to look back. Then can you tell me, Miguel? What happened in the past? Miguel put his hands on his waist and thought for a while before saying, well, this is actually a secret history. It has been erased from history textbooks. Because there are many dark histories of Norman Osborn in it. Many of these stories were discovered when I was working at Alchemy Corporation and flipping through those confidential files. So what happened in this world? Li Ji was a little curious. Miguel motioned Li Ji and the others to sit down first, because the story was long and needed to be told slowly. It is now 2099, but everything must start from 2006, Note 1. In fact, there were many superheroes in our world. They are those who have extraordinary powers, but use these extraordinary powers for good, punishing evil and promoting good. There are many well-known figures, such as Iron Man, the original Captain America, the original Spider-Man, Wolverine and other superheroes. Miguel said many names of characters that Li Ji was familiar with. Originally, this world should have developed in a good direction, because superheroes brought a lot of new hope to this world. But the development of things is something that many people can't imagine. There's evil with kindness, and there are supervillains with superheroes. Because of the large number of supervillains, the government lacks supervision, especially after a terrorist bombing. The government promoted the implementation of a bill, and this bill was the fuse of everything. Miguel said helplessly. Li Ji asked, what bill? The Superpower Registration Bill, also known as the Superhero Registration Bill. This bill led to the biggest conflict in our world, a civil war among superheroes. This is the beginning of everything. Miguel said a term that Li Ji was very familiar with, civil war. It was a very important event in the Marvel Universe. It was not the childish drama of Iron Man and Captain America fighting at the airport in the Marvel Entertainment movie that I had seen in my previous life. This was a survival bill that affected the whole world and involved hundreds of thousands of superpowers and masked heroes. Li Ji tried his best to avoid the outbreak of civil war in his own world, but in this world of 2099, civil war still broke out. Ps. Note 1: the Civil War comic was published and serialized in 2006. The entire issue was only 7 or 8 issues, but the branched line had dozens of issues. Chapter 1144: The Rise of the Dark Dynasty. The outbreak of all events occurred in 2006. Miguel said this, and he began to talk about the events that had happened in this world, many of which have been removed from history textbooks. Even people of this era have never known. Because of the emergence of the Superhero Registration Act, superheroes were divided into 2 factions. One faction believes that they should comply with government regulations and register with real names. This is led by Tony Stark. Because he himself is a hero with a completely public identity. He believes that this will help people eliminate their fear of masked heroes. Because most people don't know who is under the mask, and don't know whether they are good or bad. Most people have a fear of superheroes and superpowered people. Because many people think that these superheroes are omnipotent, they are invincible and will not bleed or get hurt. If they use their abilities in other places, such as committing crimes, then the government departments and police agencies will be powerless against them. So ordinary people hope that these superheroes will be controlled and become a profession like the police. Go to punch in and out of work, etc. These things that Miguel said also happened in the world line where Lee G is. The Spider-Man incident was probably a turning point in the controversy of superheroes. At that time, Peter Parker used force to arrest an armed robber, and the prisoner was injured because of excessive force. And later he argued that he did not rob, but was just in a hurry to change. Because he used $20 as bait to let the clerk open the ATM, but there was only $15 in cash in the ATM. Later, James, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle, was going to run for the New York mayoral election that year. He regarded this incident as a very good hype gimmick and used it as a bargaining chip for his campaign. He also hired a lawyer to defend the criminal. He also launched his own news corporation to attack Spider-Man. James took the opportunity to make a statement that he would become the mayor of New York and have more precise control over masked heroes and superpowers. Now Lee G thinks that if this matter was not handled well at the time, it might have laid the groundwork for the Superhero Registration Act. Fortunately, Lee G made good use of his speech at the time and filmed the video, "I am for everyone, everyone for me," in a way that is so real that it is almost naked. The divine halo of superheroes is removed, so that more people can understand that so-called superheroes are just a group of ordinary people. Apart from superpowers, they can cry, laugh, get hurt, die, and worry about their studies. They will worry about the monthly mortgage and property taxes. They will jump up and down in excitement when the team they support wins the championship. The offensive of this video is very fierce. In addition, Lee G connected almost all the well-known American superheroes at the time, so that everyone made a statement in support of Spider-Man. In addition to the subsequent propaganda and hype offensive, Lee G instantly reversed the public opinion oppression caused by James. Instead, James suffered the consequences and his support rate plummeted. Finally, he withdrew from the election for the mayor of New York City. In addition, he cooperated with the newly appointed New York Mayor George Stacey to create the American version of the Chow Yun Mass Plan. It allows the police and ordinary heroes like Kick-Ass to have better cooperation, and the two sides have formed a tacit understanding. This allows the masked hero to protect his information from being leaked, and at the same time will not do anything too out of line. This greatly increased the public's acceptance of the masked hero. After various treatments, Lee G finally nipped the seeds of civil war in the bud. He didn't want to follow the plot like some people. Only idiots would wait for the plot to happen and then pretend to be the savior. If you have the ability, you should nip these bad things in the bud. Don't really think you can stay out of it, unless you think you are the only living person in this world, and everyone else is NPC. It doesn't matter if they die, as if they will refresh infinitely. However, in Lee G's world, he can nip the occurrence of civil war, but in Miguel's world, no one can do this. Miguel continued, but there is a group that believes that the Superhero Registration Act will seriously harm the majority of civilian heroes. They have some superpowers, and are helpful and can help the police fight crime. But their true identities may just be ordinary company employees. Their families and jobs cannot withstand any impact. Once their identities are made public, they are likely to face retaliation from many gangs they have fought against. And this kind of retaliation will break their families apart. Miguel shook his head. It was Captain America who proposed this idea. I think he makes sense. After all, not everyone is Iron Man. With capital as strong as Tony Stark, even if he has done a lot of things publicly, such as flying to the Middle East to destroy some terrorist bases or something like that. But because he puts aside his identity as Iron Man, and is just the chairman of the Stark Group, many people still dare not touch him. The US Congress at the time could only hold a hearing on him. Who dares to really arrest Tony Stark? There was a hint of sarcasm in Miguel's tone. Brian and Strange looked at each other. In the world they were in, Iron Man and Captain America were good friends, and no one ever thought that they would have a falling out. But Lee knew that the two had a falling out not because of personal feelings, but because of different philosophies. Even in the Illuminati, the two occasionally disagreed, but in the Illuminati, everyone would put their ideas on the table, discuss and experiment. Even for some major decisions, Dr. Hank and Professor Charles would do social experiments. Because Professor Charles' brain waves can communicate with countless people, he can know the true thoughts of many people deep in their hearts. So the conflicts between Tony and Rogers can be reconciled. As long as the facts and evidence are presented, neither of them will be stubborn just for the sake of face. But in this world, the communication between Captain America and Iron Man may not be so good. One group of people could never convince the other group. Miguel was somewhat helpless, and a group of people, led by Iron Man, signed the registration bill agreement in accordance with government regulations and disclosed their identities. And the other group of people joined Captain America to oppose the bill. The number of supporters and opponents increased, and they became more and more antagonistic. At this critical moment, Norman Osborn, who had been watching from the sidelines, took action. He ignited the fuse, and a heroic civil war broke out. Miguel sat on a chair, looking up at the sky, and said in a sad tone, "A terrible heroic civil war broke out." The number of participants exceeded 300,000, and various wars broke out all over the world. The war lasted for 3 full years. Millions of people died and tens of millions of people were displaced. And the final outcome of this civil war ended with Iron Man and Captain America both losing and falling together. The leaders of the two factions died. Our world fell into the darkest era. Miguel spoke of the turning point of this world. In 2009, the Civil War ended. But a new era, the era of the Dark Dynasty, rose. Chapter 1145 The Terrible Future. In Miguel's world line, the Civil War broke out. And it ended with the death of Captain America and Iron Man. The death of the leaders of the two factions caused the factions to be leaderless. That was the darkest era, because the war between superheroes continued to expand in the later period. It was no longer just fighting for the Hero Registration Act. Miguel continued in a low voice. There are many other conflicts mixed in that also broke out with this big fight. Various contradictions and conflicts are frequent all over the world. Once the fire of hatred is ignited, it will not be easily extinguished. 3 years is enough to make the world full of holes. When everyone stopped, they found that the world had changed beyond recognition. Miguel's words made Lee a little relieved. Fortunately, he had fundamentally eliminated the source of the Civil War in his own world line. Otherwise, if the Civil War really broke out, no one in the world would be able to avoid this protracted war. Just like World War II, do you want to think that you are the protagonist and can watch the show quietly? Bombs and atomic bombs don't have eyes. However, Lee still had a doubt. With the world in such a state, wouldn't Iron Man and Captain America sit down and have a good talk? These two are not idiots. Will they watch the world being torn apart? Exclamation mark. Lee raised his doubts, and Miguel also answered them. In fact, there are opportunities for reconciliation in history. When the war first expanded, Captain Rogers wanted to surrender to the government. In this way, the war could be stopped. When the war expanded for the second time and spread to the world, Iron Man also planned to give up and admit defeat. But these two opportunities for peace were fleeting. And there was a mastermind behind all this, that is, Norman Osborn, the chairman of the Osborn Group. When Miguel mentioned this name, he seemed very excited and clenched his fists. In Lee's world, Norman had died long ago and did not cause much trouble at all. And in front of the public, Norman always maintained the image of a successful entrepreneur. But in this world, Norman Osborn has become the image of a supervillain that Lee is familiar with. Not only did he manipulate everything behind the scenes, but he also made the war bigger and bigger. Because Tony closed the weapons manufacturing department after becoming Iron Man, and the Osborn Group became the largest arms supplier in the United States and even the world. At first, perhaps it was just to make money, So Norman kept fanning the flames and wanted to expand things. Later, Norman found that he could gain more benefits from it, not just money, but more things such as power. After that, Norman united with other villains in this world to continuously expand the scale of the war until it was no longer a situation that Iron Man and Captain America could control. After that, because Norman and others secretly fueled the flames, Iron Man and Captain America suffered losses. Not only did they die, but many people who followed them died. A large number of heroes died in this war. Most of the heroes we can name lost their lives. Miguel said the final ending of the story. The government lost control of the country and all its prestige in this war. Because of the deaths of a large number of heroes, society also fell into a state of panic. When all the people were in unrest, Norman Osborn appeared. He used superficial benevolence and morality to deceive the people. And he gathered his criminal gang to form a new Dark Avengers. Because of the appearance of the Dark Avengers, or the show, many people feel that Norman Osborn is a trustworthy person. The Dark Avengers are good people, just like the superheroes before. Miguel shook his head as he spoke. But everyone doesn't know that these Dark Avengers are actually supervillains. They just changed their skin to deceive everyone. But in that turbulent era, many people believed in Norman Osborn. He used the trust of the people to continuously gain power until now. He got the highest power, not the President of the United States. Instead, he forced Congress to amend many bills. Many things that should have been government functions were contracted to private companies. For example, the Alchemy Group is a branch of the Osborn Group. And he has mastered the infinite serum of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has kept him alive and energetic until now. Miguel told everything, and these past events surprised Lee Ji and others. The development of this world line is not good, and it can even be said to be a very bad future. What about your abilities? Lee Ji pointed at Miguel and Captain America. If the superheroes are all dead, where do their abilities come from? Genetic? Could it be that they are actually the descendants of Peter Parker and Captain Rogers? Oh, don't look at us like that. We are not the descendants of heroes as you think. Captain America Roberta waved her hand. Actually, this is a plan of the Osborn Group. After those superheroes died, or were captured and killed by them, they kept their DNA and blood samples. Norman wanted to replicate the abilities of these superheroes. Miguel pointed at himself. I used to do this. I was a scientist at Alchemy Company, responsible for making replica potions for these superheroes. But the more I learned, the more I knew about the company's dark history, and I decided to part ways with him. I injected Spider-Man serum, and Roberta was injected with super soldier serum by me. Of course, this serum was extracted from the original hero. I'm afraid there will be no replicas. Miguel finally explained the origins of their abilities. Okay, but this world looks really bad. Lee Ji still remembers the gray sky over New York, which looked seriously polluted. Yes, this world is really bad. Oil and gas resources are basically exhausted, but the alternative energy plan is not going smoothly. Modern society consumes a huge amount of resources. The United States is okay, but I heard that some countries have already entered the power rationing policy. Captain America Roberta sighed. Wait, what about Tony Stark's new energy plan? Brian said this almost subconsciously. Because in his own world line, Tony's arc reactor opened up a whole new field of human energy. Petroleum gas is no longer a necessary energy source, and new energy is more efficient and environmentally friendly. And it can be supplied to the world at a low price. Are you talking about the arc? I didn't expect that someone still remembers the arc. Miguel remembered the information he had read. The arc is a very good way of energy, but unfortunately with the death of Tony Stark, this technology also disappeared. Because only Stark mastered this technology. When he died, this technology was gone. New energy no longer exists. Lee Ji asked thoughtfully, so what information did you steal today? Miguel raised the USB flash drive in his hand. Actually, it's about a new energy source. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1146 Suspected Gemstone. Now the world of 2099 has been completely controlled by a group of supervillains led by Norman Osborn. After the Civil War, the strength of the superheroes was greatly reduced. However, The supervillains preserved their strength intact, and even became stronger. Norman Osborn arrested and killed the remaining superheroes. The name of arresting and killing them is war crimes. The remaining superheroes, because of the Civil War, could not trust each other quickly, and they were all on the enemy side. There was no way to condense together to form a fist in an instant, which led to everyone being defeated one by Norman Osborn. By 2020, the last superhero was also killed by Norman Osborn. From then on, there was no power in the world that could compete with him. However, because of the death of Tony Stark in this world, the arc reactor was not promoted. New energy is far away, and now the oil and gas resources in this world are on the verge of exhaustion. Even if other resources such as combustible ice are mined, it is estimated that it will not last too long. In the era when superheroes emerged, there were also many talented super scientists. But those super scientists often stand in the same group as superheroes. They do not obey Norman Osborn's command. So in order to ensure the supremacy of his power in the face of these scientists, Norman Osborn mercilessly raised his butcher knife to these powerless scientists. This caused the advancement of science and technology to be delayed for a whole era. This is why Li Ji and others came to the world of 2099, but did not feel that this world was better than their own world. There is no mining of helium-3 here, no bases between the Earth and the Moon, no qualitative breakthrough in controlled nuclear fusion technology, the arc reactor disappeared, and there is no super high-speed rail to connect the Eurasian continent. There will be no civil organizations like the Justice League to maintain community security and reduce urban crime rates. Now the world of 2099 is like a hotbed of crime, and many people can no longer see hope for the future. As Mikkel said, it's okay for a powerful country like the United States. Some countries in Africa, South America and Asia have to limit people's electricity and oil consumption because of the depletion of resources. The National Happiness Index plummeted. On the other hand, because resources are on the verge of exhaustion, the prices of basic crops such as food in this world have soared. Because modern agriculture cannot do without various energy supplies. For example, the use of combine harvesters requires oil, fertilizer plants need electricity to produce fertilizers and pesticides, and material plants that provide these raw materials also need energy. The rising energy prices have led to a rapid rise in the prices of the entire industry. The soaring food prices have caused the economic systems of many countries to be on the verge of collapse. This world is terrible. This is Li Ji's only feeling after listening to Miguel's description of the world in 2099. According to Miguel, the world in 2099 is almost about to collapse. This world will develop for another 100 years, not 100 years, maybe just a few decades, and it will become a doomsday world like the one in Fist of the North Star. Maybe the racing scene in Mad Max will really be staged on Route 66 in the United States. Yes, this world is very bad, so we need to resist Norman Osborn. We have to overthrow his rule, otherwise, this world will not last long, and perhaps in our generation, we will be able to see the end of this world. Captain America Roberta agreed with Li Ji's statement. This world is terrible. Roberta doesn't like this world, but she has to face it. She even said that she must change this world because she is the mother of 2 children. If the world does not change, then the future of her children will have to survive in a more cruel world, and such a struggle may not necessarily have the hope of seeing tomorrow. After listening to Miguel's story, Strange, Brian, or Lan, all 3 of them must admit that their world is much better than this world. Among these 3 people, only Lan knows best what Li Ji has contributed to his world. If it weren't for the various things that Li Ji promoted behind the scenes, maybe the world he was in would become the same as the world in 2099. We need to overthrow Osborn's rule. If he still rules the world, we will not have a good life. The speech of Captain America Roberta won the approval of everyone. At least from Miguel's speech, Norman Osborn is simply the evil of this world. I don't want to pour cold water, but we seem to have a more serious problem. Even if we can overthrow Norman Osborn's rule, the world's energy is now on the verge of exhaustion. Even if Norman Osborn is killed and all his companies are destroyed, can the world turn back? Brian asked a very heartbreaking question. This is also a question that Captain America Roberta is very reluctant to face, that is, can killing Norman Osborn really save the world? Because the world has been destroyed and riddled with holes. Compared with Roberta's silence, Miguel seems to be more confident. He said, although Norman Osborn is arrogant and invincible, he must also face such a problem, That is, the world's energy is exhausted, and his good days are over. He must solve this problem. Solving the energy problem can not only make his rule longer, but also make his rule more solid. At that time, he will rule not only the United States, but the entire Earth. Because he has mastered the new energy, everyone must obey him. Miguel raised the USB flash drive in his hand and said, "And this is the key. I heard a long time ago when I was working at Alchemy Company that the Osborn Group has never stopped the research and development of new energy. And I recently received news that the Osborn Group seems to have made a breakthrough in the research and development of new energy." After Li Ji and others heard so much bad news about this world, what Miguel said was the only good news. Whether the new energy was invented by Norman Osborn or Tony Stark, at least a birth of new energy can prolong the life of this world. Save countless people. If it is true, then we must obtain this technology. Captain Roberta of the United States said decisively. If Norman masters this technology and promotes it, then this world will never see the light of day, and will always live under his clutches. So I hope there will be more like-minded people to help us, and we welcome any resistance organization to join us. Miguel pointed at Li Ji and the other four and said, "If you really want to restore the order of this world like us, and bring back the moral justice and human conscience, then we need to do more." Li Ji has not yet expressed his opinion, but Brian has already spoken. Although he is older than Li Ji, he is more like a passionate teenager than Li Ji. After listening to so many words, he said almost without thinking, "We will do our best to save the world." Li Ji resisted the urge to roll his eyes. Saving the world? Is it as simple as you say? But let's not discuss Brian's arrogance for now, because Miguel turned on the computer and transferred the information in the USB drive to the computer, and everyone began to look up the new energy plan that Norman Osborn came up with. Everyone was getting more and more excited. It seemed that Norman Osborn's Osborn Group had really achieved extraordinary results. Only Li Ji was getting more and more puzzled. Because it seemed that, perhaps, from the few words in these materials, Li Ji felt that why many details described in this material were so similar to the Infinity Stones. Is this an Infinity Stone, or the brother of the Dancing Stone? Li Ji felt that he might have grasped an important clue. Well, if it is true, then I have to take this gem and save the world by the way. Li Ji thought so easily. He had forgotten that he wanted to roll his eyes at Brian just now. Chapter 1147 Cruel World. For Li Ji, judging from the information, the thing described here really looks like a gem. The information described, a research institute in New Mexico has made a breakthrough in the study of X-energy body, which is a good carrier of new energy. The energy body is golden in color, the size is like a gem, and the structure and texture are also like gems. It can be charged and released, and the research has entered the stage of replicating the energy body. Well, although the description is not very long and not very detailed. But it inexplicably made Li Ji think of the Infinity Stones, especially this world is another Marvel world. The previous dancing gem was found in a backward Marvel world. Is there another strange Infinity Stone circulating in this Marvel world? If so, then it must be recycled. Otherwise, the plan to collect a set of Infinity Stones and then the Infinity Gloves may not be completed. Think about it, this universe has not yet shown off with the Infinity Gloves and a full set of Infinity Stones, and Li Ji wants to be the first person to show off. Even if it is fake, it is fine. For example, the price of Adidas's coconut zebra shoes is high because two Thanos lose their jaws for every pair produced. Many people can't afford to buy the real thing. But you can buy imitations on Taobao for more than 100 yuan, and everyone is happy to wear them. I can also wear this infinite glove and snap my fingers happily. It doesn't matter whether it is real or fake. As a human, the most important thing is to be happy. However, although Li Ji thinks so, life is not so happy for people in this world. Li Ji and others come from a thriving world, and the world is moving forward in great strides. Everyone is running forward, pursuing tomorrow and the future, and everyone's face is full of confidence, because the infinite possibilities of the future are already at hand. In this world, everyone is stagnant, and everyone is trying hard to stay in yesterday, because tomorrow will only be worse than yesterday. New Mexico is not a prosperous place. In this world, it seems even more decadent. If it weren't for the fact that there are still some organizations doing experiments here, I'm afraid that this place would be even less visited. Li Ji and his team came to New Mexico first, while Miguel and his team arrived a little later. Because the American female Captain Roberta needs to gather some other companions to let them come together to seize the technology about new energy. This time they are determined to get the new technology. Then they will find a way to completely eradicate Norman's company. Although the Captain America of 2099 is a woman, she lives up to the title of Captain America. She still has some strategic thinking and has formulated how to use the new energy technology after obtaining it. But is Norman really researching new energy? Lan also asked Li Ji about this doubt when they were in New Mexico, if, as you said, this thing is not actually a so-called new energy source, but a strange version of another infinite gem, then Norman may not have really developed a new energy source. Li Ji shrugged, yes, it is very likely. In this case, there is still no hope for this world. Lan's face was a little solemn. I never thought that the future might become like this, with energy depletion and crime. Life is worse now than before. Lan looked at the scenery outside the motel window. Now they are in the most prosperous city in New Mexico, but the road is still very depressed and deserted. Although the United States has not yet entered the situation of restricting the use of electricity and oil, energy prices are soaring. This country that once rode on wheels can no longer run fast. Many people choose to ride bicycles to go out, not because of environmental protection but because they have no money to refuel. Many factories have stopped working, and there are many homeless people on the streets. The lack of work has led to a higher crime rate. The monitors of public eye use powerful violence to deal with the crime rate, but this is only a temporary solution. Moreover, public eye needs to focus its main efforts on New York, and their supervision of the poor in remote areas of New Mexico is completely inadequate. Because the U.S. government is not doing well, many public institutions are no longer able to operate normally. Just like the police department, except for some big cities that may still have police departments to decorate the facade, small cities have completely no police. Bang! The door of the motel was pushed open. Strange and Brian pushed the door and walked in. They shook off the dirt on their bodies. Brian pouted at the door. It's really bad, we only bought these things. They were responsible for going out to buy food for lunch today. But the things they bought back were not much. We went to the supermarket to buy bagels, a kind of bread, ketchup, 2 bags of bacon, and some drinks. The supermarkets here don't sell a lot of food, and the prices are a bit expensive. Miguel spent a lot of dollars on us. Strange patted the things in the brown paper bag. We can only spend sparingly. So we only sold these things. Li Ji looked at the very lifeless bagels, and the bacon and ketchup that also looked not very delicious. Li Ji shook his head. Fortunately, I had long anticipated that there would be a high probability of a lack of food in the alien world we were heading to, but I didn't expect the situation to come so suddenly. Put these aside for now. Li Ji said this and took out a reduced-size Asgard brand dining car from his belt. This dining car came with a set of legendary kitchen utensils, and there was also a safe place to store food. So Li Ji prepared a lot of food before going out, but for the convenience of carrying and longer shelf life, most of them were packaged foods. Although the taste was not as good as fresh food, it looked better than what Brian and the others bought. Especially with the legendary kitchen utensils and Li Ji's cooking skills, even Shibin's canned luncheon meat became delicious. Oh. You should have told me earlier that you brought these things out. Did you know that Strange and I almost got robbed for this bag of bagels? Probably because we were strangers on this street, those people were really bold. Brian complained. He threw the dry bagels aside. He smelled the fried luncheon meat slices that Li Ji was making and found that the luncheon meat that was not very delicious seemed to be particularly fragrant. Because the legendary kitchen utensils can cheat and make some unpalatable things taste good. So Li Ji rarely uses this set of kitchen utensils, otherwise he feels a little sorry for his reputation as a chef. However, the smell of Li Ji's cooking also attracted other people. A thin little girl was standing at the door of the room that Li Ji and his friends rented. Because Li Ji and his friends did not close the door for ventilation, the little girl watched Li Ji frying luncheon meat with her eyes wide open. Lan was the first to notice the girl. She smiled and handed a piece of fried luncheon meat to the little girl. The blonde girl sniffed. Then she wanted it a little but was a little afraid. Lan smiled and said to her, "Eat it." Only then did the little girl eat it. The little girl probably hadn't eaten anything really good for a long time, and half a can of luncheon meat that Li Ji had fried went into her stomach. Strange was using magic to help Li Ji peel onions and wash dishes. While Lan was helping the little girl get more luncheon meat, Brian walked to the little girl and squatted down. He smiled brightly and said, "Are you hungry?" The little girl nodded. "Is it delicious?" The little girl nodded again. Brian took out the food he had just bought from behind and said, "Can I give it to you?" "Really?" The little girl was only about 7 or 8 years old, and she was just changing her teeth, so she spoke with a lisp. "Really?" Brian nodded vigorously. When the girl heard Brian say that, she grabbed the food in Brian's hand and ran away. When Lan came with a new portion of fried luncheon meat, she found that the girl was gone. She asked, "Where's the little girl just now?" Brian replied, "She ran away." "Why did she run away?" Lan was puzzled. "Oh, I just saw that Li Ji can cook, so I gave the food we just bought to this little girl." Then she grabbed the bag of food and ran away. Brian smiled. It's fun to tease such a little girl. Lan rolled her eyes at Brian and could only put the prepared fried luncheon meat back. Li Ji watched Lan bring the luncheon meat back again. He asked curiously, "What happened?" Lan told what happened just now. After she finished her story, Brian, Strange, and Lan herself, the three of them felt that nothing had happened. But Li Ji vaguely felt that something was wrong. "That's right. This isn't 2099 again?" Exclamation mark. "It's not the world line in 2018 where he is." Li Ji turned around. The four of them had just come to this world line for only one day, and some things had not been adapted yet. But now, Brian's inadaptability may cause big trouble. "Go find that girl." Li Ji put down the pot and rushed out the door, shouting to everyone. "What's wrong?" Strange, whose eyes were red with tears because of the onion, asked. "Think about it, you were almost robbed when you just came back, and now a little girl is holding it." Li Ji's words instantly reminded the other three. Yes. At this time, the three people realized that this was not the peaceful 2018 where they lived. It was a more cruel and uncertain future in 2099. Brian was stunned, and when he figured it out, he immediately ran, running faster than Li Ji. At the corner of the street, a gunshot rang out. Chapter 1148 Punisher. When the gunshots rang out, everyone had a bad premonition. Especially Brian. He probably rushed at the fastest speed in his life, but before everyone reached the corner of the street, they saw blood oozing out of the corner. "No!" Brian roared wildly. He looked like a madman. Because now he has thought of the worst ending he might see. Now Brian no longer has the courage to walk through the corner. Regret knocked him down in an instant. He has never regretted as much as today in his life. "I should have thought of it, damn it. I should have thought of it." Brian knelt at the corner of the street, blood slowly flowing in front of his eyes. Li Ji also followed Brian and saw the blood on the ground. The corner of his mouth twitched, and now Brian regretted it. It was useless. Because it had already happened. In life, many times, seemingly inadvertent choices may lead to terrible consequences. Sometimes doing good things may not necessarily bring good rewards to people, and even the people who are helped may not be better than those who are not helped. Especially when a person has more power, his seemingly small actions may affect the lives of many people. And now, Brian is like this. His chest is filled with bitterness and depression. And at this moment, a sound of footsteps came. It was the sound of a pair of footsteps wearing big leather boots, making heavy steps. "Huh. Is there a sissy crying again?" A strong man who looked like an ancient Roman Hercules bit a bagel and said to Brian with a crooked mouth. Brian noticed that the bagels the man was biting were the ones he and Strange bought. He looked at the pistol on the man's waist. Almost in an instant, Brian determined that this guy was a criminal. So without thinking, Brian drew the holy sword on his back and fought with the man in front of him. Brian, who has the holy sword, is still very powerful. But the man on the opposite side doesn't seem to be weak in combat. Although he is just a mortal, he has great combat skills. And he is also a master of using firearms. The two fought, and Brian actually tied with the opponent for a while, and didn't get the upper hand. The more he fought, the angrier Brian became. He thought that he had killed the little girl, so he was particularly angry. He hated the man opposite him, and hated himself even more. Why was he so careless? Brian was a passionate young man, and he always liked to fight for justice. He had helped the foreign students a lot in school. Because some universities in Europe and America have so-called fraternities. And the favorite thing of these fraternity members is to make fun of the freshmen at the welcome party. Especially those Asian foreign students who are not familiar with European and American culture, these fraternity members like to bully the most. Note that the so-called prank here is not a joke. It is really a very bad behavior. The welcome parties of many European and American universities are not simply to let the freshmen introduce themselves and show their talents. Alcohol is indispensable. Although the legal age for drinking is 22, lawless people don't care. Just like Chinese children, who cares about smoking at the age of 18? People who want to smoke start smoking at the age of 14 to 15. It is very common to force people to drink alcohol at the welcome parties of some European and American universities. Red, white and beer are mixed together and poured down your throat. Boys will make a fool of themselves when they are drunk, and girls will be even worse when they are drunk. You can imagine the worst situation will happen. For many fraternity members, the welcome party is a good time for them to hunt. And the victims usually dare not report the case, because they have to face the retaliation of the entire fraternity members afterwards. When they are away from home, these local snakes really have 100 ways to make these female international students unable to get along in the local area. Even the school will choose to turn a blind eye to it in order to protect its reputation. In order to complete their studies, many international students can only choose to swallow their anger. Especially Asian girls are more likely to be bullied, because the huge differences between European and American culture and Asian culture make Asian girls more conservative and not good at expressing themselves. Brian has seen some fraternity members do these bad things. He was still a freshman at the time and made a big scene. He injured several seniors and completely ruined the party that night. He used a lighter to ignite the alcoholic beverages that night and completely burned down the villa of a wealthy fraternity member. Because he had been practicing boxing since he was a child, Brian beat more than a dozen fraternity members into the swimming pool. One unlucky guy almost drowned. This incident alarmed the police and the school. This incident made the school lose face because Brian broke the fig leaf that the school had maintained for all these years. These damn bad habits have existed for more than 20 years, and the victims over the years have added up to thousands of people. Brian was originally going to be in big trouble, but at that time, this matter was known by Merlin's daughter Roma, who admired Brian's courage and passion. Although it was brainless, isn't this the same as King Arthur? Roma helped Brian settle the rest of the mess, forced the school to admit its mistakes, and the so-called fraternity was also disbanded. Brian was also found by Roma to receive her one-on-one training. Such a passionate person now knows that he has made an irreparable mistake. Brian now just wants to kill the man opposite. Seeing that he couldn't take down the enemy after a long time, he was about to use his ultimate move when Li Ji suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Brian's ex-curry stick had already started to charge, and he was just about to attack. At this time, Lan brought a little girl out from the side. The little girl looked trembling and frightened, but she was not injured. "Stop, Brian. This gentleman didn't hurt her. He just shot and injured a gangster who wanted to rob her, and shot his hand through. The blood is not the girl's." Lam shouted at Brian. Brian, who was preparing the ex-curry stick, stopped and was a little confused. What? He was confused, but the guy on the opposite side was not confused. A punch hit Brian's chin and knocked Brian down instantly. XXXX. He cursed, "You gave the food. Don't you know what it means to do things to the end? Either don't give it, or send the person home, stupid X." I really don't know where Mikkel found such an idiot, and he even said it was a help. The strong man spat. "Are you Miguel's companion?" Li Ji noticed Miguel's name. "Yes, I'm here to inform you that we are now assembled. It's time to start the operation." Li Ji nodded and asked, "So who are you?" "You can call me Punisher," the strong man said coolly. Chapter 1149. It's too easy. Miguel and Roberta are ready to invade the laboratory of the New Mexico branch of the Osborn Group. This time they found some helpers, but the number is not large. The main requirement is quality. Just like the Spider-Man that Li Ji and his friends met. This Punisher in 2099 is actually a guy who picked up the diary of the Punisher Frank. Perhaps some of his ideas are close to Frank's. Especially about the conclusion that you should die if you are guilty. In 2099, when the social order collapsed, he felt that someone was more needed to correct the world with strong laws. So the new Punisher was born, and he continued the story of Punisher Frank. And he and Frank have the same fighting style. Both of them are ordinary people who have not undergone physical transformation. But they are good at using various firearms and equipment. Proficient in fighting skills and various combat techniques. The only difference is that Punisher 2099 is more capable of using equipment than the old version of the Punisher. He can be said to be a living arsenal of weapons. Any place on the body that can hide weapons and equipment can take out something, even in places that you find incredible. He can hide a knife, or a grenade or something. If you have to describe Punisher 2099, then you can think of him as Lao Kui in GTA 5, who has installed a mod and wears super equipment and weapons. The equipment of Punisher 2099 is really the same as those characters in the game. Of course, in addition to the Punisher, there are 3 other companions who also joined this action. One is called Mr. Immortal. His ability is very special. Just like his name, he is immortal. Unlike Wolverine or Deadpool, who are immortal because of their super regeneration ability, Mr. Immortal is simply not injured, not sick, and not dead. This ability sounds quite strong, but Mr. Immortal has no other special abilities except immortality. There is no superb combat skills. His existence is more like a target to attract firepower for everyone. If there is a team battle, his position must be a pure meat tank. There is also a guy called Flat Man. It is said that this person's idol is Mr. Fantastic Reed from the former Fantastic Four. Because the ability of the Flat Man is very similar to Reed, Reed can turn himself into a rubber man and extend infinitely. Luffy's ability in One Piece is based on Mr. Fantastic in a certain sense. The ability of the Flat Man is quite special. He can flatten himself. He can turn himself directly into a piece of paper, or even become thinner than a piece of paper. In addition, Miguel has developed a set of all-terrain optical camouflage clothes. The Flat Man can hide immediately anywhere. He can turn into a wall sticker and stick it on the wall, then disguise himself as a wallpaper, or a poster or something. The Flat Man is very useful for invasion, and his ability is particularly suitable for this. Another resistance organizer found by Roberta is a guy nicknamed the Gatekeeper. He is dressed in black and speaks little. His ability is to be immune to physical attacks. In simple terms, if Punisher 2099 shoots 1,000 bullets at the Gatekeeper, no bullet will cause real damage to him. All bullets will penetrate him directly, but cannot hurt him. This ability is also very powerful if used well. From this point of view, the Gatekeeper is very much like a weakened version of Kitty the Phantom Cat. Kitty the Phantom Cat's ability is a little stronger. Kitty can directly penetrate a person's body and take away his heart or other important organs from his body. You can also remove your brain without any surgery. Add Punisher 2099. This is the group of rebels that Miguel and his team can find, the most suitable for doing these jobs. Of course, it is also possible that Miguel can only find these people. For such a rebel alliance, Lychee wanted to complain a little bit in his heart, but Strange spoke before him and whispered, "Why do you feel that everyone is weak?" Yes, if you look at it from the perspective of combat power alone, I'm afraid that only the Punisher can output directly. As Spider-Man, Miguel should be considered an assassin. If Captain America Roberta can also fight anyone head-on like Captain Steve Rogers, she is also a very powerful character. Can such a group of guys who don't look that strong overthrow Norman Osborn's control over the United States or even the rest of the world? Lychee had some doubts. But he would not say this doubt out loud. Because Lychee himself also deeply knew that if you want to overthrow the rule of a certain organization or change the world, it is never just relying on force, but more things that seem to have nothing to do with force. For example, as long as this world can master new energy, it can make profound changes to this world. Miguel used to work in Alchemy Company, so he was very familiar with Alchemy Company, including how the company operates and what the security system looks like. So when invading this laboratory in New Mexico, the plain man sneaked in very easily. Originally, Lychee wanted Lan to open the door directly. But Miguel and Roberto didn't speak directly, so he thought about it and gave up. Because the other party might not trust him that much. 10 minutes later, the message from the plain man came, "Everyone, I found the information about the new energy they are studying. I will help you open the door of the security room." The plain man's tone was full of joy. All the people here are rebels who are dissatisfied with the rule of Norman Osborn. They have long wanted Norman and his company to get out. They have made a mess of the world. Now the most powerful weapon to overthrow Norman is in front of them. How can the planar man not be tempted? The planar man disabled the security system of the laboratory while copying information about new energy. Miguel, Lychee and others were able to walk into the New Mexico laboratory because the security system was disabled. Isn't this too easy? Lychee never believed that this matter would be so easy to succeed. Do you feel anything bad? Lychee looked at Miguel. If he was Spider-Man, then his spider sense should be useful, right? Bad places? At least not yet. Miguel shook his head. There are some security guards in the laboratory. It seems that they patrol quite closely, but for Li Ji and others, it is very easy to subdue and knock them out. They didn't spend too much effort to come to the place where the planar man is. All this went smoothly. It was even easier than a comic. Now everyone has seen the so-called new energy research room, the information inside, and a golden gem lying on the research platform. Li Ji frowned, and in the surprise of everyone, he directly smashed the protective cover outside the gem, and then took the gem. What are you doing? The American female captain didn't know what Li Ji wanted to do, so she was a little alert now. Chapter 1150 I'm a professional. Li Ji curled his lips slightly. Guys, I guess we've been fooled. This thing is a fake. As he spoke, Li Ji threw the yellow gem directly to the ground and crushed it with one foot. There was no energy in the thing at all. We may have been fooled, Miguel. Probably since you got the so-called information, everything is a scam. Probably this is a trap set by Norman to gather all those who oppose him, such as you and us, together and eliminate them all. Li Ji said this expressionlessly. No, it's impossible. My spider sense hasn't sounded the alarm yet. Miguel still couldn't believe it. But now even if he didn't believe it, he couldn't, because when Li Ji finished the sentence, a group of black, white, red and other colorful Spider-Man appeared from various places in the institute and surrounded them. Of course, this group of colorful guys may not be called Spider-Man. Li Ji remembered the Spider-Man trilogy movie he had watched. There was a dark Spider-Man in it. The name of the black Spider-Man was Venom. I have also fought Venom in my own universe. And this group of colorful Spider-Men are probably the same as Venom. Strange. Brian, it's up to you now. Looking at this group of guys who look like Venom, sharpening their knives and wanting to eat people, Li Ji snapped his fingers and signaled his two thugs to prepare to start fighting. However, Li Ji still did not forget to ask Miguel, what are these things that look like you? Miguel now found that he really fell into a trap, and he was in a terrible mood. He could only reply, copy. What copy? Under Li Ji's command, the two thugs who came out to experience began to fight with the fake Spider-Men. Norman Osborn eliminated those superheroes back then. He retained their DNA in order to replicate a superhero army on a large scale. Captain America and I are both test subjects. Miguel dodged the attack of a black Spider-Man. These Spider-Men are really disgusting, and they can also extend black tentacles from their bodies, looking like some small butter slimes. I thought he had failed. Because Miguel destroyed all the data when he left, and he was an important R&D staff member of this project, his departure also brought a huge delay to the progress of the project. But I didn't expect him to succeed. These things are not Spider-Man, but a reproduction version of the symbiote, Venom, that parasitized Spider-Man back then. We call it Carnage. Miguel said the correct name of these colorful Spider-Men. They are called Carnage. They are more fierce and powerful, stronger than the original Spider-Man. Miguel introduced, and there are no weaknesses. Wait? No weaknesses? Li Ji looked at the people who were fighting with a large group of Carnage, at least more than 20 people. Venom has obvious weaknesses. As a mass-produced version of Venom, can it be stronger than the original Venom? Li Ji was a little unconvinced. There are indeed many Carnage Spider-Men on the scene, and they are indeed very strong. Miguel almost made mistakes and got injured several times. If it weren't for Strange and Brian controlling them, I'm afraid someone would have been injured. Because the helpers that Miguel found were not really good at fighting, and their abilities might be different. For example, Mr. Plain Man could stick himself on the wall and then transform into different wall stickers. If he was in the decoration industry, he would definitely be able to develop. But using this ability for fighting is a bit too funny. So everyone was in a mess because of the massacre. Strange and Brian were sometimes unable to help because of the large number of people killed. In the dark, a figure was watching everything that happened in the laboratory. Humph, Spider-Man, and your resistance organization, this time you can't escape even if you have wings. This time, we will lay a net to take your lives. The guy who seemed to be the mastermind sneered. It was his plan from the beginning. Including the so-called information that Miguel stole from the alchemist company. In fact, everything was fake. This was just a trap to lure Miguel and others into the trap. And now the goal has been achieved. This time, he has captured 10 important figures of the underground resistance organization in one fell swoop. especially Spider-Man and Captain America. These two are big trouble. They are the important forces in this world who are against the Alchemy Group and Norman Osborn. The Man in the Dark believes that the game of massacre he set up will definitely catch Spider-Man and others in one fell swoop, and then he can receive Norman Osborn's reward. The Man in the Dark thought so secretly. And the scene was indeed as he expected, because there were so many massacres. At the beginning there were only a dozen or 20, and then more than 10 joined in. The combat power of this kind of mass-produced super soldier may not be as strong as Miguel's Spider-Man, but when they appear at the same time, it is very scary. Luigi shouted to Strange, "Use electricity to make noise and lock all these guys." This was the weakness of Venom before, and Luigi did not believe that Massacre would not have such a weakness. Miguel was just a researcher after all, and the research on Massacre was not completed before he left. His understanding of Massacre was only on paper, and he did not know whether Massacre was really as strong as he said on paper and eliminated all weaknesses. After listening to Luigi's words, Strange instantly changed the fire spell he had been using to electric spell. It must be said that Strange, who started learning magic after his girlfriend was taken away, has become more and more proficient in fire spells, and is now not much worse than Doctor Doom. However, electric spells are still a weakness for Strange, but even the weak electric spells can trap the Carnage. The weakness of the Carnage has not changed. He is afraid of electricity and high-frequency harsh sounds. After finding the weakness, Strange directly released a large-scale electric flower spell. The battle situation was reversed in an instant, and dozens of Carnage were slaughtered by Spider-Man and his men. Luigi signaled Land to open the space gate directly, and everyone took this time to leave here directly. This made the mastermind behind the scenes in the dark smash a console angrily. After escaping from the trapped research institute, Luigi had to say to Miguel and Captain America, "I think your method doesn't seem to work. I think there's still a long way to go to change the world and eliminate Norman Osborn." Miguel and the others looked at Luigi. Luigi was surrounded by such a large group of people, but he didn't care at all. He didn't seem shy at all, and said bluntly, "Seriously, your plan is indeed a bit unsuccessful. If you believe in me, I think I can come up with a plan to help you save the world. Although it seems a bit shameless to say this, I am a professional in saving and changing the world." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.